to let you elect your own U.S. senators.
Trust the people. Those are words I live by. This is Harry Crawford, and I would appreciate your vote.
Paid for by Crawford for Alaska, Anchorage.
Are you ready? Dan Fagan and Glen Biegel are here. They're gonna tear it up, rip it down, and shoot it straight. Fagan and Biegel in the morning on Hot Talk, KOAN. And now, Fagan and Biegel.
Well, here we go. Another edition, another broadcast of the Dan Fagan Glen Biegel show. Bonnie Cameron off today. She's in Hawaii. Filling in for her today is Bethany Markham. Bethany, it's great to have you in the studio with us. Welcome.
Why, thank you.
How's she doing so far, Glenn, would you say?
Yeah, fair to middling, I suppose.
I think she's doing great. I would disagree with you.
Well, thanks.
We're broadcasting on KOAN.
It takes some getting used to, though, by the way. Show me which one. Try these, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, I had these on yesterday, but all right.
I
just don't have the show in my ear. I'm just talking to you guys. I can't actually hear the show.
Hit your volume on your.
No, I've got her all straightened out there. I just think you ought to try.
We're broadcasting on KOAN, KVNT. Our number 569-1080, 569-1080. We're also streaming live on the internet at danfagan.us. I'll tell you, we'll fix it during the break. We're fine. Go ahead and mute your computer. Thank you. All right, welcome to the show. We got a big show today. We've got Mark Begich coming in, or actually he's calling in. And I know, Glenn, you are ready to go and rearing to go and ready to ask him some questions.
Well, I'm fascinated, of course, by people I disagree with politically, as I think we should be. You know, I mean, it's dangerous when people who we disagree with politically have vast amounts of power. But I really want to understand, what's the church's job in American life? You know, if the government's there to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, house the homeless, take care of people in prison, what exactly does he think the church should be doing, if anything? Which my guess is he will stonewall and try and cover up the fact that he doesn't.
Well, you
think
answer
the
the question.
What
do you think?
As much as is possible. And I was thinking about it today on my way in here, because you fools keep trying to convince me to run for office, which I will never do. Even though
never say never.
Sarah Palin will.
No, she came out yesterday and said she wants to run for office. She's
got to have that threat out there, by the way, is my guess as to why she's doing that. But I was trying to think, how would I run a food program? Because I think we have 46 million people basically who get their food from the federal government, don't provide themselves food. And I started thinking, I guess what I'd do is I would put very temporary programs, like you could be on this program for 3 months, and then you have to go through a whole bunch of hoops to get on this other program for another 3 months. And then after that 3 months is up, the next program you do not qualify for if you have cable TV. And the next program you don't qualify for if you have cable TV or a cell phone.
And an iPhone, yeah.
And the next one you don't qualify. You don't understand what I'm saying? Is that basically if you're going to get food from the government, I know you're kidding me if you can't prove that you absolutely are willing to give up basically everything else. Now, this is not to punish people, by the way. What punishing people is keeping them on government assistance for as long as possible. It ruins their family, it ruins their dignity, it ruins their drive, it ruins their desire to improve themselves, to get an education, to make their selves better. That's what ruins people. And that's where Senator Begich and I totally disagree. He's perfectly willing, although he'll never admit this, he is perfectly willing to keep people comfortable in their poverty for as long as possible, and I'm not. And because it's against the dignity of the human person.
Do you think he honestly sees it that way, though? Honestly, in his own heart.
I think in the end, Democrats don't care how people got there. They don't care where people are going. They don't care if it damages a person. They don't care whether or not it spends our kids into oblivion. They don't care whether it destroys a family unit. They don't care whether or not it erases the reason to have a dad. They don't care.
It's about that moment.
It's about the moment. Yeah. So we're not trying to figure out how to design the future.
I mean,
somebody needs food. Here's
provide
food
for them right then and there without thinking about how that teaches them.
First tier thinking, not second tier.
Yes, exactly. Not big picture.
First stage.
And long term. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Not long term thinking.
Stage one thinking, and that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I don't know, but that's my guess is, and what he would say is the eternal response is, you don't care whether or not people starve, Glenn.
You know, I was listening to you and I'm thinking, well, that makes so much sense. But then the thought came to me, and I don't want to inject a ton of hopelessness into the show the first 5 minutes in the show.
There's only hope.
But
only hope.
We're never, ever going to restore sanity and greatness to this country until the legislative branch begins to stand up to the judicial branch. Because, Glenn, any good idea you have, an activist judge somewhere, someplace will shoot it down. Anytime you do anything that promotes freedom, that promotes prosperity, promotes opportunity, somewhere. You look at the gay marriage craze. That's not a move of the people. That is confined within the judicial branch of government, where activist judges are saying, this is the way I want it to happen. I don't care about the Constitution.
Can't we also reform the judiciary?
Well, we need the and I've only heard one person talk about this ever, and it was Newt Gingrich. We used to impeach judges quite regularly in the beginning of our country. And it's the judicial branch to do this. Now they're also scared.
I see.
Now, see, I know the judicial branch is how they implement final policy, but they prepare our country because through teachers.
Yeah.
Right. Teachers have to teach. You say, well, there's going to be a leftist judge who's going to override me. I say there's going to be a leftist teacher who is going to prepare a child to believe something that's not true. And what they're going to tell them is, you can give people welfare for 5 years or 3 years or 10 years or 20 years or 2 generations, and it will do no damage to them whatsoever. That is a lie. That is not true. But I see the left-wing establishment.
Well, that's all a part of it. But we had a guy sitting right there.
Yeah.
A trained lawyer with a law degree. His name was Les Garrett. Have you ever heard of him?
Oh, yes. I think I listened that day.
He did not know that we were a constitutional republic. He did not know that when we pass laws, they have to pass constitutional muster. He thought we were a democracy. Majority rules. That's an attorney. It's an attorney, for goodness sakes.
Gone through all of life.
So that goes to what you're saying about the indoctrination.
Yeah, he's totally miseducated.
If our students don't understand that we're a constitutional republic, that the Constitution is a buffer between those who want to impose their will upon us and their whim, like say you must buy health care, I'm going to tell you how many different ways you can and can't buy health care. I'll just change the law randomly. That's what's missing in public education. And the idea that government dependency is not the best way to live. And I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I agree.
Well, and then those indoctrinated children become the legislature and the judiciary.
Yes.
And so it feeds itself into the system.
Very true.
Well, and most people have no idea why why we ever cared about marriage.
569-1080 is the number. 569-1080. You're listening to Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, Bethany Markham filling in for Bonnie Cameron today. We're broadcasting on KOAN, KVNT. We are streaming live, either video or audio, on danfagan.us. We're glad you're here. The time currently, 6:14.
Don't just sit there. Give them a call. 569-1080. Join the conversation. KOAN. Do you remember that Beatles song? If the rain comes, they'll run and hide their heads. You know which one I'm talking about. Well, if that's you, and you're inside your home or office, it's time to call Earhart Roofing. Call Earhart Roofing for all your roofing needs. Flat or pitched, large or small, Earhart Roofing will do the job quickly, and they'll do it right. Earhart Roofing, big enough to serve you, and still small enough to care. Call 345-5555. That's 345-5555.
Alaska's Energy, America's Values, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com. Mark Begich is unbelievable.
Washington thinks it knows what's best for Alaska, and that's what I'm fighting against every day.
Fighting? Begich voted for all Obama's appointments, like Sally Jewell as Secretary of the Interior. Jewell immediately said no to exploration in Anwar and no to a King Cove road. Begich didn't fight Washington. He rolled over, like he rolled over for Obamacare. Now Begich is trying to duck and hide on Obamacare, on oil taxes, on cap and trade, on the IRS scandal, even on Anwar. How can you deliver Anwar, Mark, when Harry Reid says a Democrat-controlled Senate will never allow an Anwar vote? Alaskans can't trust a thing Begich says. It's time to replace Malarkey Mark with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan.
Do you know Lynn Gaddis?
Yeah, I know Lynn Gaddis. Drove a 570cc sled to the peak of McKinley in a gall-dang blizzard.
Hey, I never did that.
I heard Lynn Gaddis skinned a rabbit with her teeth in 10 seconds flat.
That never happened.
I heard that Lynn Gaddis fights for conservative principles in state government.
Well, that's true. I'm Lynn Gaddis. I love to hunt and fish, and yes, I love to ride snow machines. But what I really love is making life better for my friends and neighbors in Wasilla by bringing common sense and conservative values to Juneau. I believe in a sustainable budget. I believe in regulatory reform and resource development. And I believe in school choice and parental rights. I'm Lynn Gaddis, and I'd appreciate your vote to keep skinning some rabbits in the state legislature.
I knew it!
Just kidding.
Paid for by committee to elect Lynn Gaddis, 1650 North Shoreline Drive, 99654.
Here's my good friend, Keith Montronock.
Automotive repairs can be frustrating. Let me help. Call 349-1637. I have been in business for nearly 20 years at the same location. Specialty Truck and Auto is in South Anchorage behind the Long Branch Saloon where Diamond becomes Abbott. I have 6 ASE certified technicians working from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. I have a voucher for any of the 6 Alaska Laser Wash locations for each customer. If you schedule ahead and need a ride when you drop your vehicle off, I may be able to help. Call Specialty Truck and Auto, 349-1637.
Harry Crawford looks to be...
That's it. Your time is up.
I'm Senator Kathy Giesel. It's time to set the record straight. Only in an election year would you hear someone paint a $52 million funding increase as a cut in education funding. Only in an election year would you hear that a $2 billion cut was actually a budget increase. Only in an election year would you hear someone claim they work hard to keep your energy bills low. All the while, Harry Crawford's first vote on the Chugach Electric Board was to vote himself a raise. It's reflective of a candidate who has no record of accomplishments, no ideas, and no desire to serve you. Alaskans deserve better than that. I'm Senator Kathy Giesel, and I'll continue to do the hard work necessary to improve education outcomes, keep energy costs low, and make sure generations of Alaskans will have the jobs they need. That's my no-nonsense promise to you. Paid for by re-elect Senator Kathy Giesel, Anchorage.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call, 569-1080. KOAN.
In 6:19 in the morning. Welcome to the Dan Fagan Glen Biegel Show. Bonnie Cameron out today in Hawaii, but she's listening, so she's really not on vacation.
Actually, she only listened for a little while yesterday.
I don't believe that. I do not.
That's what
I do not believe that for a second. We're broadcasting on KOA, KVNT. Our telephone number. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Anything you want to talk about. 569-1080. 569-1080. We're also streaming both video and audio live on danfagan.us. danfagan.us. All right, 569-1080. Did I say Bethany Markham's in with us today?
No.
I did not. She is sitting here filling in for Bonnie, who is listening to the entire show today. Mary, you're on.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Hi. Before I go to my question, I just want to say, I remember the day you both had the battle royale with John Tracy. That was the most thrilling talk radio. I mean, I stopped everything.
Oh, Oh, that was on Glen's show.
Oh, yeah, and Glenn, I'll never
that so
forget,
well.
Glenn said, this is highly unusual,
Oh.
but we're going to keep on with
You know, it's so funny, Mary, because we were talking about that earlier in the day, about that whole Joe Miller thing, because Bethany, who's in with us today, she just revealed to me that she was one of the people who went down to the Division of Elections to register as a Senate candidate. I just found that out. No, let me, and I'll let you finish, Barry, but I remember so well.
Oh, that was great radio.
Glenn was on, John Tracy, who, by the way, is a mentor of mine. John and I have had a love-hate relationship. I think the world of the guy.
It was still good radio.
Yeah, well, I think the world of the guy. I really do.
Glenn was like, whoa.
I know.
You could hear him.
Well, we were just, actually, frankly, I lost that argument. John remained cool. He remained calm. I lost it. He had the better of me. Frankly, if John and I went at it 100 times, he'd probably get the better of me 99 times. He's a brilliant man. He's a great debater. I was in.
Well, he had a lot of guts to stay on.
Who, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was talking about how he's liberal and all this stuff.
Yeah, well, you were right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I got 2 questions, and I'll take them off the air.
All right.
The first one is, I heard an ad while waiting for your show to begin where Begich said that only he and Mark Fish believe in one thing, and I'm going to call Mark Fish later. Is Mark aware of this ad?
Oh, he loves it. Mark Fish knows that Begich is campaigning on his behalf because Mark has no way of Mark Fish has no way of winning.
Yeah, but it's
Begich's best chance of winning is if people who are libertarians.
Well, I know, but
vote for Mark. Are you considering voting for Mark Fish?
Oh, I would if he could win.
Okay.
I absolutely would.
Yeah.
I know him personally, but beside that, absolutely.
Yeah.
My other question, and I'll take it off the air, is this. Is the video that was posted on Drudge yesterday from the Americans, they call themselves Americans, they happen to be black, but the American activists in Detroit and Cook County, where those gentlemen did a great job in their 4-minute video where they said, black people don't vote anymore for Democrats. Look what they've done. But then their point that they said, we don't have Tea Party here. All we look around is, all we have is black faces to represent us, and it's been nothing but black on black crime.
Yeah.
So I'll take that off the air, and I'd like, I hope you bring it up with that guy today.
With Mark Begich?
Yeah, him.
Yeah. Hey, Mary, have you called the show before?
Not this one.
Okay.
No.
How long have you been listening?
About 3 months.
You just found this 3 months ago?
Yeah, my friend who has she had the Grand Duchess told me. I didn't know you guys were on there because I don't look at any local news. I don't watch any local TV. Nothing. I don't watch any government anything.
Yeah. You can get everything you need here.
Mary, thank you so much for your call.
I'd like to hear you and Glenn comment on this American activist.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I watched it last night. It's 4 minutes 23 seconds. About 428,000 people have watched it. And there's another ad, and I was telling you guys at lunch about this yesterday, Glenn. There's an ad in Louisiana by a Republican who is African American, and he goes to one of the poorest neighborhoods in Louisiana, and it's involving Mary Landry, who's running for re-election, and he talks about how nothing has changed in this neighborhood in the last 40 years. There's still crime, there's crack, houses are dilapidated, you can't feel safe walking down the street. And basically he says, what has Mary Landry done for you? Nothing. What has the Democratic Party done for you? And that's basically what this ad that Mary's talking about says.
Well, I've seen other ones like it. I didn't see this one, or at least from what you guys are describing, other ones like this. And this is becoming something of a drumbeat. Now, if people only are on MSNBC, they're probably not going to hear this, and they won't know that this is going on. But there's an undercurrent of people who know that they've been fooled. You can only fool people for so long. It's kind of like, I don't know, the pro-lifers feel like they've been fooled in many ways, largely, frankly, because what you said before, because the courts keep stripping our legislative branch of their authority. But anyway, so a lot of times people get the sense that they've been fooled, and then over time they sort of, actually, a lot of times it happens all of a sudden because enough people realize they've been fooled that then you'll have a movement, and it happens very quick. And what the undercurrents of this election are, if the Democrats can't get 90 to 95% of black people to go out and vote for them, they will be absolutely shellacked. So the problem that black people are having is most of the Democrats' policies have been to benefit illegal immigrants, not black people. They got nothing to do with black people who run almost every inner city that's around, you know, and they kind of realize now, I think, look, welfare is not, that's, you know, they can give us a check, but that's not giving us dignity, and that's not giving us a future. So I just get the sense that the game is sort of getting to be up here for the Democrats. Now, here's the danger is Republicans have been, a lot of people have been trying to change the Republican positions to try and attract people rather than say, look, we're a freedom party, we're a jobs party, we're a family party. You know, that's our purpose. Our purpose is when you're ready, when you want freedom of jobs and family, we're your party and we'll be here. That's happening now. So for all the people who wanted to throw out all the things that Republicans stood for all these years, you were wrong, and that I think what you'll see is that will have turned out to be a bad plan, and we're going to see black people, African Americans, if they do count themselves as that, come into the Republican Party and be a part of a freedom-loving, job-loving, family-loving party.
You know, when you look at the history of the black community in the United States of America, if they were to really analyze it, clearly the Republican Party would be their preference. And in many cases it was. And this is interesting because this is really where we are. It's practical versus ideological. So many people, I got in a big argument with a bunch of Mark Fish supporters. Oh, I'm, you know, blah, blah, blah. And my main point is we need you guys. Yeah. You're freedom loving. You can't keep bigots in there. You throwing away a vote. You're throwing away your vote.
Well, you're not voting.
Well, hear me out. You're not voting. The practicality of it is
you are protesting. You're not voting.
So practicality. We're talking practicality. Barry Goldwater, one of the most conservative persons ever to run for the presidency. He ran in 1964 against Lyndon Johnson, right after Kennedy's death. Barry Goldwater refused to support the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We have been paying for that ideologically based decision, not practical decision, for 45, 50 years. Because African Americans left the Republican Party in droves. Martin Luther King was a Republican. But when Barry Goldwater says, I am for states' rights above all else,
wow,
no practicality, no sense of what we'll do. It's like when Bonnie said, let's deport 20 million illegal aliens tomorrow.
Yeah, totally impractical, never happened.
Practicality is so important because we are still, to this day, all Democrats know is, hey, the Republican Party wanted us to stay in the back of the bus. The Republican Party didn't want us to be able to go to certain restaurants. That's all they know. And they're right. Because our leader at the time, Barry Goldwater, put states' rights above practicality.
That was 4 years before I was born. Could you please stop blaming me for that?
Well, but there were a lot of people who are alive who do remember that, though, and that's the key.
I was 4 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's totally unfair. That's not where the Republican Party is today.
Right.
And I'm trying to wrap my head around that idea, and I can't. I do not understand the idea that we allow governments to treat people differently. It's just the same reason I don't understand people and their race-based preferences. They're not right. They're wrong.
Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, KOAN, KVNT, our number 569-1080. We are streaming live video and audio on danfagan.us. The time currently 6:29. On danfagan.us. The time currently 6:29.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel. Give him a call. 569-1080. KOAN.
With KOAN News, I'm Chuck White. A 19-year-old Anchorage man will spend 25 years in prison for raping a teenage girl he had asked to go on a walk along Cook Inlet Railroad tracks on New Year's Day. Jesse Potts previously pleaded guilty in the case. He allegedly left the 17-year-old victim tied up with duct tape, but came back later to free her. The victim offered emotional testimony during the sentencing hearing about what the ordeal was like for her. Due to the nature of the crime, he will not be eligible for parole. Election officials say while flyers that attempt to shame people into voting may be distasteful, they are not illegal. The flyers list the names of recipients' neighbors and whether they voted in the last 3 elections. It warns that if the resident does not vote, their neighbors will be notified in a follow-up flyer. Finally, University of Alaska Southeast Chancellor John Fuchs announced that he'll retire in May. He's been with UAS since 1987. That's your Hot Talk News update.
Partly sunny skies for this afternoon, high 31. Cloudy skies and cold tonight, low 19. Partial sunshine for tomorrow, high 32. Tomorrow night, low 15. Friday, cloudy skies with snow, little to no accumulation, high 30. And for Saturday, high 33. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather, KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Just a short drive from wherever you are.
Get your tickets now for the Connect Country Liquor Holiday Wine Tasting. There are only a limited number of tickets available, so you can enjoy a relaxed atmosphere and taste a multitude of fabulous wines. It's the 16th annual Connect Country Liquor Holiday Wine Tasting at Evangelos, Saturday, November 8th from 7 till 9. This premier Valley event kicks off the holiday season. You'll have the opportunity to buy your favorites at drastic savings, but on that night only. Advance purchase is necessary. No tickets at the door. Get them now at any one of our 4 convenient, locally owned and operated tax-free locations. This event is black tie optional. The 16th annual Connect Country Liquor Holiday Wine Tasting at Evangelos, Saturday, November 8th.
Keeping the valley in good spirits, yeah. Connect Country Liquor, oh yeah. KKL.
6 years ago, we took a chance on Mark Begich. Begich promised us he'd be an independent voice for Alaska. Instead, he's voted with Barack Obama 97% of the time for Obamacare, wasteful spending, and trillions in debt. Begich supported them all, even though they hurt Alaska. 6 years ago, Begich promised to fight for ANWR. 6 years later, ANWR is still closed to exploration, and Begich stood by as Obama's overzealous EPA hurt Alaska. Instead of taking responsibility for his failures and broken promises, Begich is running a vicious campaign with attacks called some of the most dishonest and inflammatory of the year. We gave Mark Begich a chance. He gave us a record of Obamacare, wasteful spending, and broken promises. We can't afford 6 more years of Mark Begich. Alaska needs a change. American Crossroads paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.americancrossroads.org.
Why is A&A the shop, Alaska's independent Subaru specialist? How is it they've been voted the best shop in Anchorage not once but 6 times? Well, it's pretty simple. They offer the best warranty in the business. If they work on your Subaru, you're going to get a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on both parts and labor. That's unheard of. A&A the shop deals exclusively with Subarus, and they also offer $35 oil changes. All their technicians are ASE certified. Call A&A the shop for an appointment. 562-3919 in Anchorage and 696-2096 in Eagle River.
As a young person growing up in Alaska, I spent a lot of time in remote cabins and camps, and one of the values instilled in me was to leave the place better than the way I found it. I feel a responsibility as an Alaskan to leave the state better than the way I found it. My name is Marty McGee. I'm running for State House in the Sand Lake area, House Seat 22. I've lived my life in Alaska, and it's time to give something back to the community. I think people are beginning to feel like government is working against them and that the legislature belongs to somebody else. And I want them to feel like they're not excluded from the process, that they're included and they're heard. The direction I've seen the state going in concerns me very much. You know, it motivates me to get off the couch and not complain about the issue, but to try to be part of the solution.
This communication paid for by Marty McGee for State House.
When I grow up, I want to be a pro basketball player. An elementary school teacher. Oh, an Olympic gymnast.
No matter what dream you choose or where you are in life, your local Country Financial representative offers helpful advice on everything from auto and home insurance to financial planning, education to retirement, and business insurance too, so that you can continue to grow and dream. For more information, visit countryfinancial.com or call 1-866-COUNTRY. Country Financial. Grow your own way.
Alaskans know Governor Sean Parnell is an honest man who keeps his word and cares deeply about Alaskans. But what do we know about Bill Walker? We know Walker championed wild schemes for 30 years that accomplished nothing for Alaska. We know Walker was paid millions by the city of Valdez to stop any gas line that didn't go there. We know Walker said he'd stop Governor Parnell's gas pipeline. We know Walker sued to stop Point Thompson. We know Walker said all options are on the table for new revenue, which means new taxes on Alaskans. Governor Sean Parnell has worked to put Alaska's economy on the right track. Walker wants to be governor so badly, he's writing checks Alaskans will pay for. Re-elect Governor Sean Parnell. Paid for by Parnell Sullivan 2014 for Alaska's future.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on the Talk of the Valley, KVNT.
24 minutes ahead of 7 o'clock. Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel here. Bethany Markham filling in for Bonnie Cameron. We're broadcasting on KOAN, KVNT. Our number, 569-1080, 569-1080. Give us a call. Anything you want to talk about, 569-1080. We're also streaming live, video and audio, at danfagan.us. Amanda Coyne has a story today about the Washington Post breaking a story that both Mitt Romney and Ted Cruz coming to Alaska to campaign on behalf of Dan Sullivan. They'll spend this Saturday and Sunday flying around the state with Cruz. The two will headline the Get Out the Vote rallies in 4 of the state's main population areas, Anchorage, Mat-Su Valley, Fairbanks, and Kenai, according to a Sullivan campaign source who requested anonymity. You think that'll help or hurt?
Absolutely help.
Yeah.
Base, get the base out.
2 different bases.
How do these Mark Fish people, how do they not vote for a guy supported by Ted Cruz?
They're not voting. I hope people understand
they're protesting,
that
yeah.
We have a system of government here. It is called a representative democracy. All right?
Republic.
A representative democracy, republic, same thing. So here's the way that works.
It's not the same thing.
I know. It's not. But that's okay.
Okay, when you have a representative, okay, that's the first part, right? Then they go and they vote, right? And then majority wins inside the constitutional confines of the
The Constitution is why it's a republic, not a democracy. Because if it stopped at the majority rule of elected representatives, then it would be a representative democracy.
It's
because
a limited constitutional republic, yes.
Right.
That's the most correct way to describe it.
Right.
But here's what I want people to know. When you vote for somebody who cannot win, you're not voting, because only the people, you have to get a plurality of voters to vote for your person in order to be represented. You will have 0 representation if you are not voting for somebody who can win. Since Mark Fish cannot win, he's not really running in a race. He's running as a protest vote, and he's supported by Mark Begich. Now, there are some people who truly, actually, I don't know that there are. I wonder whether or not there are people who have differences with Dan Sullivan, or just imagine that they do. And if they do have differences, what are they?
They don't see a difference between Begich and Sullivan.
I don't know that that's the case.
No, I was
think
talking to him last night.
What do they say?
They just say, oh, they're the same. You know, I won't be a puppet or a master to either one of them.
Meaning what?
They're just that they're both big government guys, and they're going to take us down the same
path. How do they know that?
Well, you can't see that. You can't know history. You know, there was at one point in time the most hated man by the left in America was Ralph Nader, because Ralph Nader gave George Bush the presidency.
Right.
because he was the third-party candidate. He got like 7 or 8% of the vote. Bush won by hundreds of votes or thousands of votes. So, yeah, those who voted for Nader out of protest gave us the evil George Bush.
But look, Ralph Nader was truly different in many ways.
I don't think he was much different than Gore.
No, he really was. Gore was a big corporatist.
Yeah, I suppose.
And so are almost all the Democrats.
No, you're right. That's a good point. And
Mark,
Ralph Nader was a genuine communist.
Mark Fish, by the way, he made, and this is what I'm trying to figure out. What is it that he disagrees with Dan Sullivan on? That's what I want to know. My guess is what they don't like is they don't like the Republican Party of the past.
Well, every time every time Matt Johnson, Joe Miller's campaign manager, posts anything on Facebook, it's never about Obama. It's never about Begich. Yeah. It's never about any Democrat. It's always about Republicans.
About Karl Rove or something.
He is out for the Republican Party as though they're the problem, not the Democrats. That twisted logic is what's... And I will admit, Bethany, I'm sure you agree with Bonnie. Yes, the Republican Party has a long way to go. It's probably Matt Johnson now. Yes, the Republican Party has a long way to go. But there is a world of difference, Bethany. I'm assuming you would agree. You may not. Between the Republicans and the Democrats.
Between most Republicans and the
Democrats. Most Republicans.
But some Republicans, I do have to say,
are
Democrats.
Well, of course, and some, well, there aren't any Democrats or Republicans. But look what George Bush did with tax cuts. That's a big deal.
Yeah, no.
Look what Ronald Reagan did with tax cuts. That's a big deal.
Well, and it's one thing to disagree with that, and another thing to try to reform within the party. And I know Mark Fish says that he tried for a while to make reforms within the party, but then you just gave. Yeah, exactly. At what point do you just give up as opposed to keep trying?
Well, I think in the end he did this for himself. Yeah, I know Mark. I know Mark personally.
I don't think so.
Because
I think he thinks what he's doing is...
He's always believed, but he didn't sign on for many of the libertarian things. He never liked marijuana.
His last 5 or 6 posts is about marijuana.
He's completely pro-life. Right. I mean, he was always a solid Republican kind of guy, but he just got tired of the fight.
Give up.
He gave up, and he just decided, you know what?
Quitter.
Begich is going to give me millions of dollars of advertising. Me.
Yeah.
Mark Fish.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take it. I'm going to take because he totally disagrees. I've been in a room with Mark Fish 50 times. I know what Mark Fish believes.
Was that Matt Johnson?
He doesn't. No, it was you actually. I think something had to do with the show. But anyway, so I know what Mark Fish believes, but you have to understand this has got to be about him at this point, since there's huge differences between Dan Sullivan and Mark Begich.
I'm still hopeful that it's not about him within Mark Fish's heart, so I still have Dan Fagan's hope.
Well, we have no way of knowing. We'll never know. Only Mark can tell us that.
Yep,
I don't care what's in his heart. I just care about the results that he'll produce. And if enough people vote for Mark Fish, then we're going to get Mark Begich as a senator for the next 6 years.
No, he'll be in for life. If Begich can beat what I consider to be the most conservative person who's ever run for federal office in the state, with a chance of winning.
No.
Dan Sullivan. He's more conservative than Frank Murkowski.
Than Joe Miller?
He's more conservative.
Joe Miller ran for federal office.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I supported Joe Miller at the
time.
But
you said
he's got a chance to win.
Well, you didn't say that. You said the most conservative person who's run for federal office.
Who's got a chance to win? I didn't say that.
Well, Miller had a chance to win in the primary, in the general.
He did. Yeah. No, I agree. And I guess what I'm saying is he's more than anybody who's served in office before. It's apparent to me that Dan Sullivan is more conservative than any of the people who have served in federal office from the state in our history. And so I realize for some people, look, some people want amnesty, and I get the sense that a lot of people in the libertarian movement are now 100% let's erase the borders people. So they may not actually be conservative in any way. They may not want to be represented by a conservative, and in that sense, their protest is really what they want to do.
They're more dangerous than the left. That's my opinion. I may be wrong. Glen Biegel, Dan Fagan, Bethany Markham filling in for Bonnie Cameron. We're on KOAN. We're on KVNT, streaming live video and audio on danfagan.us. Our number, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 569-1080. 569-1080. The time currently, 6:44. 569-1080. The time currently, 6:44.
Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
Hi, my name is Mike Ferris, president of Alaska Enterprise Solutions. We are the face of Xerox in Alaska. Xerox is a trendsetter, and AES Xerox is following in those footsteps. We are the document management experts, specializing in short-term rentals of copiers and scanners. We have offices in Anchorage and Fairbanks, and we are your Xerox professional agency with an Alaska focus and worldwide support. You can reach us at aesalaska.com or 561-5100.
This is Allison Arians. I was offended earlier this year when Mike Hawker used a picture of me in his newsletter when he knew I didn't support his actions. And now I read in the news that he's done it again with Carol Como. Shame on you, Mike. Mike claims to support education, but we know better. He broke his word to fight for full school funding, and now teachers are being laid off statewide. Our schools are suffering. Mike's got his priorities wrong, but I don't. I think integrity matters, especially when it comes to our children. That's why I'll be voting for Sam Combs for State House. Sam Combs will be a champion for education. He'll fight to fully fund our schools, and he'll respect us when he uses our pictures, because it's the right thing to do.
I'm Sam Combs. Allison's right. Integrity matters. I won't steer sole source leases to my buddies like Mike did, or let education become just another compromise. I'll fight for integrity, and I'll fight for you. I'm Sam Combs, and I appreciate your vote on November 4th.
Paid for by Sam Combs for your State House.
I'm Bill Walker, candidate for governor. Sean Parnell declared an education session with the legislature, but ended up laying off teachers. He denied health insurance to thousands of Alaskans. He drove Alaska into deficit spending, and your energy costs are still sky high. My administration will make public education a funding priority. I'll act on the recommendation of the State Chamber of Commerce and other organizations by accepting Medicaid expansion so thousands of uninsured Alaskans can have basic health care coverage as long as it's fully federally funded. I'll bring Alaskans together to solve Parnell's budget deficit mess. I know what it will take to complete a gas line to benefit all of Alaska. And until that project comes online, I'll focus attention and resources on lowering your energy costs. We're nonpartisan. We're all Alaskans. Let's work together. Alaska first. It's time.
Paid for by Walker and Malott for Alaska.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y.
I'm Mark Begich, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Paid for by Alaskans for Begich.
Who will protect your privacy rights in the U.S. Senate? Dan Sullivan worked for Condoleezza Rice, one of the architects of the surveillance state. She's in Sullivan's TV ads because he helped implement her agenda that threatens Alaskans' liberty, like extending the Patriot Act that allows the government unlimited access to your personal records. And when Sullivan was with the National Security Council, the NSA authorized warrantless wiretaps of U.S. citizens. Sullivan is bankrolled by the billionaire Koch brothers, who have been manipulating the oil markets for years, driving up gas prices. And Sullivan even opposes the Stand Your Ground law that allows you to defend yourself in your own home. Only 2 candidates oppose the Patriot Act and NSA wiretapping and support Stand Your Ground. And that's Mark Begich and Libertarian Mark Fish. True Alaskans fighting the Dan Sullivan surveillance state.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080 KOAN.
$6:49 on this Wednesday, Hump Day, October 29, 2014. Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, broadcasting on KOAN, KVNT. We're streaming live video and audio on danfagan.us. Our number, 569-1080. 569-1080. Bonnie Cameron's on vacation. Bethany Markham's in studio filling in for her. Mark Begich will be on the show a little bit later on.
And Dan Fagan forgot his reading glasses today.
You
and yesterday.
You say no, because Was
Oh, 2 days ago.
Yeah, I think it was Monday because
yeah.
Bonnie had.
The ladies are always saving you.
That's very true. That's very true.
What do things look like without those glasses anyway?
Well, I just can't see up close. I can see for miles and miles. I have great far vision.
Okay.
It's not even a vision thing. When you turn 40, typically, and an optometrist explained this to me once, it cost me $160 to hear this, that when you get to be 40 or older, it's not that you're losing your vision. It's the muscle that causes you to focus on near objects. It weakens. So most people who are 40, 42, 45, they can't see real close up without reading glasses.
That happened to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had great vision all my life, and just recently I've had to get glasses because I can't read anything close up.
Right, now can you still see far distances?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, why do you wear glasses all the time? Oh, you just wear them just for when you need to see.
You had a choice of getting specific readers or just glasses you could wear all the time, and I wanted them all the time because I look at stuff up close a lot.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I always usually carry them around with me. And I remember the first time I put my glasses on, I couldn't believe. Oh, wow, that's what that stuff looks like up close. So I clearly waited too long, being very stubborn. And it was I was flying to Magadan, Russia, for a trip with Channel 2, and I wanted to have something to read on the plane because I was really having trouble reading. I mean, I'd be at home, I'd be reading with my arm stretched out, and all of a sudden my arm wasn't long enough.
Yeah.
So I started using other people.
Yeah.
Hold this and just stand over there.
Yeah. And so that's basically
I don't understand how glasses work.
Do you not have any eye correction at all?
Not at all. And I think that the reason why I don't is because I don't understand how it works. So I just.
Well, now, do you see up close very clearly?
I can see perfectly.
You can read anything, the smallest print.
I can see anything.
That's amazing.
And how old are you?
46.
Wow. See, you're a freak of nature.
Yeah, that is a freak. You're right.
You are.
That sounds bad.
You have such a huge, massive brain.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Your brain is ridiculously large. So maybe that has something to do with the muscle in the eye.
Yeah, it's keeping his eye muscle stronger. Perhaps.
I don't know.
Plus, he lives a good, clean life.
There you
That's
go.
true.
Good, clean
That's
living
true.
for Glen Biegel.
That's true.
I've lost my vision twice in my life. One
completely.
Yeah, once headed across the Gulf of Alaska on a fish processor. We came up from Seattle, and we were going to do kelp and
How old
herring.
were you?
I was 21.
Okay.
But I did not know this, but I am allergic to motion sickness drugs.
Wow.
And they caused me to go blind.
That must have been scary.
Yeah, well, I called my mom on one of those sat phones or one of the the
called
phone.
your mommy?
Yeah.
Once you're an adult?
Hey, Mom, and I was blind at the time. Basically, I said, "Hey, am I allergic to anything?" She says, "Oh yeah, you're allergic to Dramamine and scopolamine, motion sickness things."
You called your mommy?
Okay, Mom, I'm blind. Does this get any better?
Well, how did you not know what you're allergic to?
She never told me. Never. Isn't that strange?
Does your mother love you?
I don't think so. I got the sense no at the time.
How long did it last?
It went away after about 2 or 3 days.
Wow, it lasted that long.
I was kind of confined to quarters at that point since I couldn't negotiate the ship. I was completely sick, by the way. It was absolutely miserable. We're in 20-foot seas, and we're only on a 150-foot vessel, so it was up and down and side to side, and oh my God.
How many years did you do that? Or I guess you couldn't do it after that, could you?
Well, I did fish processing for 5 years.
But that's different than getting on the boat, right?
We were up in Amonic one year. That year I was on for 6 months. 6 months straight.
You spent 6 months in Amonic?
I spent 6 months on a vessel.
And how'd you do that if you couldn't take the sickness medicine?
I just couldn't take sickness medicine. You don't go out to, you're not on the open seas very often. Only when you go across the Gulf of Alaska. Other than that, you're moving the ship around here and there.
So you lived in a ship for 6 months?
Yeah, I was processing foreman. I was basically the foreman of the ship.
So you processed the fish on the boat?
On the boat, yeah.
Head fish processor?
Yeah. Basically, and I ended up, my problem was I wanted to do. I didn't want to leave.
Brian, have you ever fish processed?
Yeah. It's so
no,
hard
I
for me.
can't stand fish.
Yeah. So how much you get paid back then? Do you know?
A lot. I was paid $3,500 a month, and I was going to get like a 10 or 15, 20% bonus if I stayed on 6 months.
And how long ago was that?
This was 1990, I think.
That was a lot of money then.
It was a huge amount of money for me.
What is that a year? 3,500, 7,000.
42 grand.
42.
Oh man, it was a ton, and you couldn't really spend any money.
But you only did it 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months is all I could handle.
And you were married with kids at the time?
No. Before that.
When did you? When you were in your? Oh, I'm thinking of my age. So 1990, you were how old?
I was 22.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you really are young. You're how old?
46.
46.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I don't think he seems that young.
Yeah, really.
You don't think 46 is young?
Well, no, it's kind of middle-age-ish, isn't it?
Thank you.
54.
I'm almost 45.
Are you really?
That's ridiculous.
Next month or December.
Now Brian looks.
Yeah.
He looks 22.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
That's ridiculous.
He's got a big smile on his face all the time.
I'm
I gotta wonder
54.
about people like that.
I'm 54. I look 73.
No, you don't.
No,
you don't.
You got this life in your eyes.
Yep.
that leaks out. So the other time I went blind was when I was driving up. We drove a couple vehicles up from the lower 48. I had this theory that vehicles are totally demolished as you drive them around up
here. So they
here.
paid you to drive cars up?
No. I just wanted to go buy a vehicle. So we bought a vehicle out of Texas, and we were driving it up. And normally I drive. You know, when my wife were in the car, I drive. So we drive through Texas, we drive through Oklahoma, we drive through, I don't remember all the different states, and I kept driving, and we would stop for 4 or 6 hours a day, whatever, because we wanted to get back up quick. We had a few kids at the time. And I kept driving. We got into Canada, and I'm about, 250 miles, 300 miles into Canada, and all of a sudden I have difficulty focusing right ahead of me. And it's like, this has never happened to me before. I don't really understand what's going on. And so I found that by looking at the side of the road, I could see the regular road in my peripheral vision. So I drove that way for another 100 miles. And I thought, I just don't feel well anymore, and I can't even see that way. There's no way I can keep driving. I told my wife, I said, I can't see. I can't see anything anymore. And apparently your eyes get so tired after you drive for hours and hours and days and days and
not
days.
sleep, it sounds like.
Well, we were sleeping a little bit, but not a whole lot. But
Glenn, when I was driving up here, he offered to fly down and ride with me.
That would have been fun.
No, it would have been miserable.
He would have fallen asleep while he was driving.
When I take a trip, I maybe drive like an hour and a half, then I'll get another hotel room, go play around the golf.
Okay,
get a nice meal.
Sounds like a pretty different style.
Drive a couple hours down the road. Okay, that's enough. Where's the golf course in this town? And it took me like 3 weeks to get up here.
Yeah.
And Glenn said, "Yeah, we can do it over the weekend." I said, "No."
Yeah, 3 days.
I'm the guy who's distributing milk jugs to all the kids. Okay, when you got to go pee, here you go.
I came here from Utah in 3.5 days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
See, you're Glenn type of traveler.
I
Dan.
maybe could do 6 hours, but that's it.
Yeah, but you drive 6 hours at 245 miles an hour.
I probably cover more ground than you do in 12. That's probably true.
Yeah.
All right, Mark Begich is coming up. He's the senator here in Alaska, and he's going to run for re-election. He's going to be taking your questions and phone calls, and taking Glenn's questions, which is what he should really be concerned about. 569-1080 is our number, 569-1080. Broadcasting on KOAN, KVNT, streaming video and audio on danfagan.us. Our number, 569-1080, 569-1080, 6:59 is the time. No, this is not.
When you've got the best ingredients, the pizza comes out right. That's just what we're cooking for every appetite. Experience the flavor, call us right away. 24/7, it's a pizza party day.
October is National Pizza Month. Just hearing the word pizza brings a smile to almost everyone's face. And Sicily's Pizza wants to make you smile 5 times as big with their National Pizza Month special. Get as many as 5 medium 2-topping pizzas for only $9.99 each. Whatever style you like. For fast delivery, call 333-8000 and order the Sicily's National Pizza Month special. 333-8000 or order online at SicilysPizza.com. Best ingredients, best pizza, Sicily's.
Just call Sicily's Pizza. 333-8000.
KOAN Anchorage. It's not just talk, it's hot talk. 95.1 FM, 1080 AM.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Dave Anthony. Just announced from the Pentagon, new marching orders for the military on Ebola. Fox News Radio's Jared Halpern's live at the White House.
The Defense Secretary has signed an order to place all U.S. troops deployed to the Ebola mission in West Africa on a 21-day controlled monitoring regime upon their return. Secretary Chuck Hagel also directing the Joint Chiefs to develop in the next 2 weeks a detailed implementation plan for how that quarantine will work. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Martin Dempsey, recommended a quarantine for all of the nearly 4,000 troops expected to be deployed to the region. Earlier this week, the U.S. Army said it would take that action with its soldiers already quarantining several in Italy. Dave.
Jared, a standoff's brewing in Maine between the nurse who's been fighting an Ebola quarantine since she was isolated in a tent in New Jersey and the governor. Casey Hickox has tested negative for the virus, says if the quarantine isn't lifted by tomorrow, she'll go to court.
I remain really concerned by these mandatory quarantine policies from aid workers.
That's her on ABC. Governor Paul LePage has just issued a statement saying Hickox is unwilling to follow CDC protocols since a return from treating Ebola patients in West Africa and will seek legal authority to enforce a 21-day quarantine. Special delivery in space. Astronauts getting new supplies. The morning after another cargo ship exploded on liftoff. Fox News Radio's Evan Brown has the update live.
Now, Dave, an automated cargo ship from Russia just reached the International Space Station.
Standing by for contact.
Yeah, docking confirmed.
Copy, Max. And we confirm.
Capture confirmed.
Now, meanwhile, NASA and a U.S. contractor are wondering why their supply rocket blew up seconds after liftoff last night on the Virginia coast. Rocket operator Orbital Science Incorporated is concerned that toxic debris could have been flung pretty far, and they're asking people not to touch any, Dave.
This is Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
If you're looking for exhilaration, you've found it. Whether carving snow or pounding trails, Ski-Doo snowmobiles and Can Am ATVs and side-by-sides are engineered to perform and thrill. And right now, during the Yellow Tag event, save up to $2,000 on select models. Plus, get up to a 2-year extended warranty and great financing. Visit Team CC in Eagle River and Wasilla. Offer ends October 31st. Restrictions apply. Subject to credit approval. See dealer for details. For safety and training info, contact the ATV Safety Institute.
America was built by people with a few dollars and a dream. And while many don't know it, there's one path to success that still only requires a dream and about $10. That's right. If your dream is to start or grow your business, something as simple as the right business card could make all the difference. And today at Vistaprint.com, you can get 500 full-color business cards for only $9.99. That's right, only $9.99. Just go to Vistaprint.com and enter promo code 1818 at checkout. That's Vistaprint.com, promo code 1818.
Is your IT department burdened with first-line support calls about printer jams and broken printers? Are individual departments purchasing expensive printer cartridges that get buried in office supply budgets? Is your printer support strategy really a printer replacement plan? Let Alaska Enterprise Solutions show you how to reduce those high print costs. AES is a Xerox professional agency in Alaska with Xerox's worldwide support behind them. You can reach us at aesalaska.com or 561-5100.
My name is Billy Yelvington, and I love being a firefighter.
2 years ago, while fighting a fire, the roof collapsed while Billy was underneath.
I didn't think I was going home.
Captain Mike Hermes and engineer Kevin Woolsey made up the rest of the crew that day.
With the snow load and everything else, they figured that section of the roof was about 6,000 pounds.
Captain Hermes calls a mayday. A firefighter is down.
I says, I got to stay with Billy. And I remember he said 4 words to me. He says, go. I got this. When they finally got him out, I still had that same feeling that he's probably not going to make it.
Billy did make it, but under AO-37, firefighters' voices are silenced on staffing and equipment needs. AO-37 makes a dangerous job more dangerous.
I'm convinced one less firefighter there that day, Billy wanted to be in here.
Vote no on one to keep politics out of public safety. This message is paid for by Repeal 37 and approved by former Police Chief Walt Monaghan and former Fire Chief Craig Goodrich chairs. Top 3 contributors are APDEA, Anchorage Firefighters, and AFSCME International of Washington, D.C.
All my life, I've enjoyed hunting and fishing, but as I got older, it made it harder to enjoy the Alaskan outdoors. Thanks to Chugach Chiropractic, I'm back on the stream enjoying Alaska.
Besides aligning the spine, we also deal with the musculature and the nervous system of the body.
To do that, we not only adjust the spine, but we also balance muscles along with various therapies and deep tissue therapy. We help bring the body back to normal function.
Mark Begich votes with Barack Obama 97% of the time. Obamacare, trillions in new debt, job-killing EPA regulations. Mark Begich voted with Barack Obama for all of it. Now, Obama says,
I'm not on the ballot this fall. But make no mistake, these policies are on the ballot. Every single one of them.
A vote for Mark Begich is a vote for Obama's agenda. It's time for a change.
I'm Dan Sullivan. Our country's on the wrong track, and it's Barack Obama's failed policies that put us there. There's nothing wrong with America that can't be fixed by what's right with Alaska. As your senator, I'll stand up to Barack Obama and federal overreach, unleashing Alaskan energy to create jobs, fighting wasteful spending, and strengthening America's national security while taking care of our veterans. I'm Dan Sullivan. I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. I'd be honored by your vote.
Paid for by Sullivan for U.S. Senate.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning.
Well, here we are on a Wednesday morning, hump day, less than a week away from Election Day. Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel. Bonnie Cameron is off today. She's in Hawaii. Bethany Markham was kind enough to fill in for her today. We're broadcasting to you on KOAN, KVNT. Also streaming live, audio and video, your choice, on danfagan.us. Our telephone number, we'd love to hear from you this morning. Anything on your mind, whatever the topic, 569-1080, 569-1080.
They have done every project around the state of Alaska. It's really an amazing list. We're talking about Earhart Roofing, looking at Orso's Restaurant, UAF, the roof replacement there, J. Bear Military Housing, Seward High School, Seward Elementary School, Nikiski Middle and High School roof replacement. There's really no job that they can't do. Residential, commercial, industrial. If you are going to have a project for your roof, you really should involve the best in Alaska. Better Business Bureau Business of the Year for 2010. An amazing accomplishment and an amazing group of people. 345-5555, their name. Earhart Roofing, E-A-R-H-A-R-T.
Our number again, 569-1080, 569-1080. That's the number if you would like to be a part of the broadcast, and we certainly would welcome you. Anything you want to talk about, anything on your mind, anything on your, anything you want to talk about. This is an interesting story out of the Washington Examiner. Shocking Harvard poll. Millennial voters want GOP in charge. Abandon Obama.
Interesting.
Well, I think the GOP, by the way, is changing pretty dramatically as a result of the changing demographics of the country, the changing views of the country. So I really think that over the next 10 years, there's going to be a really big debate about, well, what does conservatism look like to you? Where do we implement it? And traditionally, conservatives, when they could, they implemented it at the federal level. What I think you're going to see is you're going to see a lot less of that and a lot more opportunities for conservatism to grow in 50 different experiments across the country at the state level.
I have 3 nieces and nephews in college right now. I'll have a 4th one next year. They're not excited about their future. 53% unemployment rate among teenagers 18 to 25. 53. These are college-educated kids.
The promises that were made by the Democrats are just amazing that they just don't come true.
The Democratic Party has done more to hurt the younger generation than any other group of people on the planet.
Well, we're going to keep it going here, too. The minimum wage, another job killer, killer for young people. Your first job where you're going to get trained and you're going to get an opportunity and you're going to make connections, you're going to figure out life, that's going to be stripped from you. And it's all coming up. We're making it harder for ourselves.
I've been doing some volunteer stuff for Americans for Prosperity, and I've been really encouraged by seeing the number of college-age and young kids getting involved in volunteering and actually trying to do something because they see that if they don't, this is what they're going to get stuck with.
Well, Glenn said this the other day, that his kids are going to be out, waving signs for Anna Dubé and other candidates, and I do think that that's a new thing. I don't remember as a kid. My dad was always a conservative. and I always knew his political views, but we never got involved as a family. I think that's a new thing. I think kids today who are raised in conservative families, it's now becoming more a part of their lives, and they're getting more involved in the process. And social media may be a part of that, which is good. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good thing.
Parents just trying to get them engaged as well.
Yeah.
Not trying to insulate them from, the realities of the world that they're going to be living in if they don't get involved.
Right.
Politics are kind of fun, when you go out and you put your hand to the till and try it and see how it goes. It's not that bad. Conservatives, it's always been easy for liberals because their job, their income, their benefits, their friends, their faith, it's all wrapped up in their liberalism. And that's not been the case for conservatives for a long period of time. But I do get the sense that conservatives, as society sort of pushes us close together, because, look, a Prop 5, which is supported by Mark Begich, an ordinance here in Anchorage,
Prop 5 would do what?
It would have stripped churches from their ability to stay.
Gay ordinance.
Yeah, well, actually, it wasn't just gay.
Yeah.
It was your sexuality in public. You could have dressed up as a woman, and you could have walked around and said, no, you have to...
Begich had nothing to do with that.
No, he was totally on board. Yeah, total
I know,
support.
but it wasn't his initiative.
No, he literally supported it.
No,
he came out in support of it.
A lot of people supported it, but it wasn't his initiative.
I don't care. That's his initiative to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you talking about?
Well, Matt Clayman brought about Prop 5, not
sure.
Mark Begich. He could have brought about it.
But Mark Begich was a vocal supporter of it.
Sure he was.
And since he's the most powerful Democrat in the state, and maybe in state's history, then that's his moniker. That's who he is. That he is a person who's ready to strip conservatives of their ability to be offended by somebody who's dressed up in hose and stockings, put on lipstick and a wig, and wants to go be served at a restaurant.
I'm not a big fan of the word offend. It's not, and this is just maybe semantics, but the Prop 5 would have stripped people of their ability to operate and execute their own value system. That's what it would do. It literally would prohibit you from choosing what you believe is right and wrong in your decision-making process. That's much stronger than just offend. Offend that's what leftists are. They are always offended. You say anything, anything about anything, and they think you're a racist, they think you're a homophobe, they think you hate, Muslims. They live in the offense camp. I don't really think most conservatives live in the offense camp. We just want to be free. If I own a bakery and some guy says, hey, I want you to make a wedding cake with 2 dudes on top for my wedding, I should be able to say, I want the freedom to not do that. We're not offended. We just don't want to do it because it's our free will or it's our choice. If I'm a photographer, I don't want to go and photograph a gay wedding because I just don't want to do it. I want the freedom to not be able to do that.
Sure. If I'm a church, I don't want to rent my facility out to Satan worshipers and have them have a ceremony in my church, even though I rent to somebody else who I may agree with their values, right? And that was Prop 5. So anyway, I think as Mark Begich and his ilk, and people get miseducated about what real freedom is, because real freedom includes the ability for us to disagree about what our religious values are, about what our First Amendment values are, about what our political values are, but we all still get to operate. You can't make me illegal, which is exactly what Mark Begich wants to do. So conservatives are being pushed closer together, and we're finding community now where we never have before. Just like your dad, he didn't feel like he had to do anything. There was a silent majority. Well, guess what? The silent majority was 40 years ago. The silent majority has got absolutely no power. And if you don't go out and organize and help your friends get to the polls and understand we've got a huge election coming up here, our liberty, our freedom, they're gonna nationalize 34 million people. If you don't go and get Mark Begich out of there because he's not going to stop Barack Obama.
34, what is that?
Barack Obama's got 34 million green cards. He's going to allow people to stay here. He's not going to question anybody. He's letting illegal, that's dangerous felons go.
Something you're assuming will happen.
Well, no, that basically is what came out in the news here recently.
569-1080 is our number. 569-1080. Broadcasting on KOAN, KVNT. DanFagan.us is where you can watch the show live or listen to it. We'll be right back. 7:14.
Don't just sit there. Give them a call. 569-1080. Join the conversation. KOAN.
When Malarkey Mark Begich ran for U.S. Senator, he made a lot of claims about his record as Anchorage mayor. Begich knew the truth wouldn't come to light before the election. But now, history is caught up with Malarkey Mark. Under Begich, Anchorage taxes went up 27%. Under Begich, the city budget ballooned, a $142 million increase in spending. Under Begich, the city was saddled with unprecedented 5-year union contracts. Under Begich, a deficit of over $20 million was left for the next mayor to deal with. Begich left Anchorage in serious trouble. Alaska's Energy, America's Values paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. It's time to replace Malarkey Mark with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com.
With a Sam's Club membership, you get incredible savings every time you shop. For a limited time, Sam's Club members get a savings book with more than $6,000 in extra savings. Stock up on great brands like Bounty, Glad, Kraft, Coca-Cola, and more, all at members-only prices. Come into Sam's Club today to get your savings book with more than $6,000 in extra savings. Join and save. Sam's Club. Life is better when you're in the club. See club for details.
Representative Gabrielle Ledoux's opponent says she is opposed to negative ads and intends to run a positive campaign. But she's mailing dishonest attack after dishonest attack against Representative Ledoux. Laurie Hummel says Ledoux voted to kill a tax credit for veterans. The truth is, Ledoux supported the veterans tax credit. Hummel is now blaming Ledoux for the National Guard scandal, a deplorable use of a sad situation for political purposes. Who knows what Hummel will say next?
My name is Bonnie Bausch. I've known Gabrielle Ledoux since I was a child. My mother always said East Anchorage didn't have a voice in the legislature until Gabrielle Ledoux was elected. Gabrielle is for the people. Everyone matters to her. Gabrielle Ledoux is doing a great job for East Anchorage and Jay Bear. And to say anything other than that would be a lie.
On November 4th, re-elect Gabrielle Ledoux. Paid for by Ledoux for House, 8859 Cross Point Loop, Anchorage.
You know, there are many people in Anchorage who have their own special place for gifts for occasions like Mother's Day or birthdays, anniversaries, whatever. Into Bell's Nursery and Gifts they go. And there's always something perfect. Bell's Gift Shop on Specking Road has a truly incredible selection of unique, creative gift ideas. Crystal, glass, and china and flatware, a wonderful kitchen section, candles, lotions and potions, and of course delicious C's candies, and lots more. Great for browsing or finding that special gift. The Gift Shop at Bell's Nursery on Specking Road.
I'm Mark Begich, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Paid for by Alaskans for Begich.
Who will protect your privacy rights in the U.S. Senate? Dan Sullivan worked for Condoleezza Rice, one of the architects of the surveillance state. She's in Sullivan's TV ads because he helped implement her agenda that threatens Alaskans' liberty, like extending the Patriot Act that allows the government unlimited access to your personal records. And when Sullivan was with the National Security Council, the NSA authorized warrantless wiretaps of U.S. citizens. Sullivan is bankrolled by the billionaire Koch brothers, who have been manipulating the oil markets for years, driving up gas prices. And Sullivan even opposes the Stand Your Ground law that allows you to defend yourself in your own home. Only 2 candidates oppose the Patriot Act and NSA wiretapping and support Stand Your Ground. And that's Mark Begich and Libertarian Mark Fish. True Alaskans fighting the Dan Sullivan surveillance state.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080KOAN.com.
7:19 in the morning. Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel here with you. Bonnie Cameron out and about in Hawaii this week. Bethany Markin filling in for her. We are broadcasting to you this morning on KOAN, KVNT. Our telephone number, 569-1080. 569-1080. Give us a call. We're also streaming video and audio on danfagan.us. danfagan.us on this, the Wednesday before the Tuesday election. How about that? Now, Bethany, you are clearly someone who is very active and involved. You're a Tea Partier, right?
Yeah,
you look
I am.
scared. You look like you're worried.
It's like, what's he gonna ask me now? So.
Are you worried about where I'm going now? Are you?
Well, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I'm curious because you say you got involved when Sarah Palin was named on the vice presidential ticket.
Correct.
What is it that what was it about that event? So prior to that event, you didn't care about politics at all.
Nope, I didn't know anything about
so
what
was it about that made you jump in?
Well, obviously there's a lot of media coverage of her speeches and such, and hearing her speeches, like the one that she made in, was it Denver, I think, during the acceptance, I was like, wow, yeah, I believe that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
The Republican Party convention speech.
Yes.
Which talked about the pig with lipstick. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that motivated you to say, hey, I want to be a part of this. Yep. I want to jump in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it did.
And so what steps did you take once? And by the way, I would imagine Bonnie's story is duplicated a gazillion times over. I'll bet there are so many people.
Bethany.
Oh, my goodness. There are so many other people like Bethany today who solely because of Sarah Palin and her inspirational campaign have thrown themselves into the ring and now are an active part of making this country a better place. And if you have to look at Sarah Palin and say, what's her legacy that's positive, that would be it.
Sure.
She probably, I remember actually Rebecca Logan telling me, her mother, I think it was Minnesota, always volunteered for the Republican Party, always worked with the Republican Party. Once the Palin candidacy hit the national stage, they had more people coming to Republican Party headquarters to volunteer than she'd ever seen in her entire life. And Sarah Palin did that for this country, and I think that's a big, big plus.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, because
she was the life of that ticket. I mean, honestly, McCain was absolutely dead. Yeah. You know, one of the most liberal Republicans in the Senate, just a disaster. Couldn't talk, couldn't motivate anyone, and then Sarah Palin comes on. What a contrast! Amazing.
So you got involved how? How did you jump into the ring?
Well, the other thing I was doing at the time was I had, oddly enough, just kind of come across and started watching Glenn Beck's TV show. So this was kind of concurrent with that.
Right.
And so he started forming these local 9/11 groups, was what he called them.
9/12.
Oh, 9/12. Yeah, they were right. That's right. They were 9/12s in response to 9/11. And so I got involved in that locally, which that ended up morphing into the local Tea Party, which then that took me into eventually the Republican Party, which is where I do a lot of my work now. And
so what did you do? You just looked up the Republican Party headquarters, said I want to be involved?
Oh, no. I guess I started with the Tea Party.
But there was a Tea Party then?
Oh, yeah, there still is.
And so what did you do? Was it a number in the phone book, or how'd you get involved?
Well, the 9/11 groups, we had these what were called meetup, or 9/12 groups, sorry. We had these meetup groups where we would get together and meet, and it's a kind of an email app that puts you together with other people. And so we would have those meetings, and then from there we morphed into the Tea Party group that we formed and have meetings.
And what happened after that? Are you still involved? You still engaged?
Yep, absolutely. So from there I realized I definitely need to get involved in the party to start making a difference within the party. And so I started volunteering for party stuff. I volunteered for a lot of candidates, did work for them, and then got to the point now where I ran for office within the party.
And you have children?
No, we do not. Children. Yeah, we got married a little later in life.
Gotcha. So you have a little bit of free time, but you still work. You're in the Alaska National Guard. Mm-hmm. So now that you're involved and engaged, what have you learned from the night that speech came into your living room to where you are now? And are you optimistic? Are you discouraged? Where are you in your process of trying to make this a better country?
Depends on the day. I mean, there are definitely times when I'm more hopeful, but there's lots of times when I'm not, because I feel like we just keep going back to the fact that we don't have a lot of politicians who have courage. They say a lot of things that they aren't really willing to follow through on and do. And so that's discouraging to me, because I think, when are we ever going to have men of courage, or women of courage?
What is the answer to that?
I think it goes back to what we were talking about yesterday, as far as raising up children educationally who know about the benefits of conservatism and what it means for their future and their lives, as opposed to government dependency. And then changing culture and entertainment, so that the things that people are seeing and hearing every day that they're being impacted with.
Yeah, but I don't think
reinforce
that's
that
courage
message
from the politicians.
No, but I'm saying we have to have. That's what is going to develop those kind of politicians for the future that have courage. It has to be those kinds of kids that get brought up that way.
Well, and I think the reason we see so little courage from so few politicians is because they have too much at stake. Politicians have so much power now, and the idea of losing that power, they're just not really willing to risk it.
Term limits.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's an answer or not, but
well, I do have a thought on this, by the way, and that is, for the most part, people get into politics because it's something that seems kind of fun. They're not getting in there to do a hard job. And this is what I mean by that, and I do think that this is changing. You want to talk about the most hopeful thing? We're going to be out of money. We're going to be out of money in the state of Alaska. Easy times are going to be over, and frankly, then we're going to have the government that we can afford. Not the government that people want to promise other people that they can give, because it's not their money.
And it'll be clear that it's going to be a hard job. So if you want to run for office, you better be willing to do the hard job.
That's exactly right. This upcoming legislative session is going to be one of the most difficult in the history of the state of Alaska. They are going to have to figure out how we're going to live with less, and that's not something that government usually does. So I'm hopeful, because reality, very, very rarely does reality infringe itself upon politicians.
I don't see how you can say that. As far as the debt, we've got $80 billion in the state.
Yeah.
What are you talking? These politicians can give away as much money as they want.
No, they can't.
Well, sure they can. They have been, and they'll continue to do.
No, that's all locked up in the permanent fund. They
not $80 billion.
They can't touch it.
About $60 billion. They got $20 billion to play with.
No, they got 14.
Okay, well that's a lot to play with.
Yeah, well, they'll be $2.5 billion short this year.
I think there's a lot of external pressure on them right now to start making cuts.
Yeah.
And if people continue to be engaged and involved and pressure them to do that, I think it will happen. But the alternative, which I saw when I went to Juneau the first time, is there's just a lot of people down there with their hands out.
Oh yeah.
That's the point. The pressure from the electorate is nothing compared to the guy sitting across from you saying, I can get you votes on this, I can get you fundraising for that.
Term limits.
But my point is the pressure to give to the special interest group far outweighs what the public wants, because the public forgets. You'll hear, we're cutting. They get elected. Okay, we got through that stage. Now let's go back to spending and pleasing the special interest.
I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think people are so dialed in to what our deficits are. Both gubernatorial candidates ran on this. They're both talking about the deficits, the balanced budget, the sustainable budget. Every legislator I talk to, look, the Democrats are going to try and stop this. I don't know where it is they want to go, and we'll never know where they want to go until they actually force us to go there. So they're not going to help. But I really think a lot of Republicans have gotten the message. Easy times are over. Easy government money is over. We're going to need to figure out what our priorities are. And I look forward to that, because I think we're going to be a better society as a result.
As we continue to attract investment here in the state as a result of our more competitive tax policies, we're going to see an increase in revenue. Even, and you say, well, the price of oil is down. Well, $90, that's not down. Down is 30.
Well, we need 110 in order to balance.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay.
But to think that oil won't go back up to 110, to think that the increase in the oil won't make up for the $80 barrel, yeah, I don't think we're going to have a revenue problem for a long time. I really don't. And so until we have a revenue
Bethany actually works in the legislature, and she's kind of an authority.
Well, I'm not an authority, but I do have to say that there are definitely people in the legislature who disagree with you.
Yeah, no, I know that. But I just, look, I agree that we spend too much in the state. Most of it's entitlement spending. But I just think the future is so bright for Alaska, especially when we get rid of Begich. And of course, look, if Bill Walker gets elected, all bets are off. Yes, doom and gloom, because we're not going to have any money, because he's going to go to war with our biggest taxpayer. But assuming Parnell wins, Begich is gone, we get a new president in 2 years, I think the state is going to be a flush with cash. And I've been hearing that message that you just preached, that, we're about to start to get tough times since 1996.
I'm not preaching that message at all. Look, I think a society is so much better when it lives within its means. I'm not worried at all about the government not spending a whole lot of money. I think we'll be a better state with more jobs, with stronger families, with more realistic, with a better education system. I see everything is great for us coming up because our resource base is fantastic. Look, I'm not preaching doom and gloom at all. I'm not a believer in government. There's nothing better, I think, that can happen than our legislature has to live within its means.
Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, broadcasting on KOAN, KVNT. We're streaming live on danfagan.us. Our telephone number, we'd love to hear from you, 569-1080, 569-1080. Mark Begich coming up a little bit later in the show. 7:29 is the time.
Mercedes-Benz of Anchorage. The best or nothing.
From the Fox Business Network, stocks are searching for direction as investors await the policy statement from the Federal Reserve's two-day meeting. The central bank is expected to end its latest bond buying program, but investors will also look for clues on when interest rates may start to go up. At around 11 a.m. Eastern, the Dow Industrials are little changed. And Facebook is trading sharply lower. The social network's third quarter results beat the estimates, but it also says the pace of user growth slowed down, and 2015 will be a significant year for expenses. Hershey is also under pressure. The chocolate maker cut its full-year earnings and revenue growth forecast due to higher dairy prices. A stronger dollar and weak sales growth in some markets are also hurting the stock. And Orbital Sciences tumbling nearly 15% after one of the company's unmanned rockets exploded last night on liftoff in Virginia. Orbital is promising to find the cause of the disaster. The rocket was carrying experiments and equipment for NASA to the International Space Station. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Jolene Kent.
Warning, you must have your solar system up and running by midnight December 31st, or you'll miss out on this year's federal tax credit. Energy prices are expected to increase by as much as 40% in the near future. Go solar now, with no down payment, interest, or payments for a whole year. The door of opportunity is about to slam shut. Call 1-800-MY-SOLAR now for a free in-home assessment.
My home, my savings, 1-800-MY-SOLAR.
With KOAN News, I'm Chuck White. The 5-month search for a missing family from Kenai has turned up a small clue, and Kenda has the latest.
Searchers have returned to a forested area near the missing family's apartment and discovered a piece of clothing, described as outerwear. Investigators say they're still evaluating the significance of the discovery and whether it relates to the search for Rebecca Adams, her 2 small daughters, and her boyfriend, Brandon Jividen. They have not been seen since May 25th. The adults left wallets and keys behind. The mystery is now more than 5 months old.
Investigators Tuesday said a home in Wasilla sustained heavy damage in a fire Monday afternoon. 2 adults and 2 children were displaced after the blaze on Sarah's Way near Selden Road. Former Governor Sarah Palin has acknowledged she may run again for office in the future. Fox Business Network, she hasn't held office since resigning as governor in 2009. That's your Hot Talk News update.
Partly sunny skies for this afternoon, high 31. Cloudy skies and cold tonight, low 19. Partial sunshine for tomorrow, high 32. Tomorrow night, low 15. Friday, cloudy skies with snow, little to no accumulation, high 30. And for Saturday, high 33. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather, KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
When you've got the best ingredients, the pizza comes out right. That's just what we're cooking for every appetite. Experience the flavor, call us right away. 24/7, it's a pizza party day.
October is National Pizza Month. Just hearing the word pizza brings a smile to almost everyone's face. And Sicily's Pizza wants to make you smile 5 times as big with their National Pizza Month special. Get as many as 5 medium 2-topping pizzas for only $9.99 each. Whatever style you like. For fast delivery, call 333-8000 and order the Sicily's National Pizza Month special. 333-8000 or order online at SicilysPizza.com. Best ingredients, best pizza, Sicily's.
Just call Sicily's Pizza. 333-8000.
Glen Biegel, you have beautiful teeth.
Why, thank you, Dan Fagan. That's because my family and I have gone to Dr. Dan Kiley for years.
I get scared at the dentist.
Dr. Kiley knows people like you are afraid, so he creates a relaxed atmosphere at his office. People actually like going to the dentist for Dr. Kiley.
I know it's important to have good dental health.
And you look better with good teeth. And Dr. Kiley offers cosmetic dentistry along with general care.
Visit Dr. Dan Kiley at lakeotisdental.com. Call him at 562-9209.
6 years ago, we took a chance on Mark Begich. Begich promised us he'd be an independent voice for Alaska. Instead, he's voted with Barack Obama 97% of the time for Obamacare, wasteful spending, and trillions in debt. Begich supported them all, even though they hurt Alaska.
6 years ago, Begich promised to fight for ANWR. 6 years later, ANWR is still closed to exploration, and Begich stood by as Obama's overzealous EPA hurt Alaska. Instead of taking responsibility for his failures and broken promises, Begich is running a vicious campaign with attacks called some of the most dishonest and inflammatory of the year. We gave Mark Begich a chance. He gave us a record of Obamacare, wasteful spending, and broken promises. We can't afford 6 more years of Mark Begich. Alaska needs a change. American Crossroads paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.americancrossroads.org.
Paid for by Pruitt for State House, 2954 Brittany Place, Anchorage.
Let's Pruitt for our future. We'll fight for you and me, a strong economy.
What do educators and parents say about Lance Pruitt?
As a parent, I appreciate what Lance has done for schools and sports programs in East Anchorage.
From my perspective as a high school principal, Lance Pruitt is the best choice for East Anchorage.
Lance knows our kids are Alaska's future and much more than a budget line item.
Lance Pruitt is a genuine advocate for education. He supports teachers and knows the tools they need to be effective in the classroom.
As a teacher and a mom, I know Lance is the kind of leader we need to continue to move Alaska and education forward.
I'm voting for Lance because he's someone
November 4th, re-elect Lance Pruitt.
Lance Pruitt, he will do it for our future.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
7:36 in the morning on Dan Fagan's Glen Biegel Show. Bonnie Cameron is out today. She's off all week. And we have the lovely Bethany Markham in the studio with us, helping us out. We're broadcasting to you this morning on KOAN, KVNT. Our telephone number, 569-1080, 569-1080. And you can watch us if you'd like to watch the show live on the internet. Go to danfagan.us, or you can just listen to us stream live. We also have a KOAN app. Go to your app store and search KOAN. You'll find us. Mark Begich is coming up in a little bit. Glenn, I know you only interviewed him once. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
How did it go the time you interviewed him?
I don't remember.
Was it heated or was it?
How could you forget? He's one of our senators.
No. Well, this is you guys. I don't highlight this often, but my memory extends back mostly about 2 weeks, and sometimes only a couple of days. And it's a great blessing. It's an enormous blessing because my wife could have done a horrible thing to me a week ago, or my children, and I just won't remember.
I mean, literally, you lose all memory?
Just about, yeah. I had a traumatic brain injury when I was 20. I got run over, and I had a very, very serious concussion, and my memory changed very dramatically at that time, A. And B, there's a very strange trait of Beagles. And my brother, who has 180 IQ, if he has 3 things to do, and he does not write them down, he will forget them all. He will not remember any.
So it's not the accident; it's hereditary.
I don't know which part of it is. I do know that at the time of the accident, my memory did change fairly dramatically.
I think your brain's too big. There's no room for memory.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's like 50 first dates.
That's what I was going to say. It's
exactly.
like a movie.
Do you have to wake up every morning and watch a video and relearn everything,
first
Glenn?
of all, yeah, go ahead.
No, well, it is somewhat like that, actually. It's very similar to that. No, look, I don't.
So if you go out of town for 2 weeks, you come back, you don't know where you live?
Well, here's the way that it manifests itself. I will not remember somebody's name at work, even if I've worked with them for 15 years, unless I say their name basically every other or every third day. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many times I've said their name. I could have said their name 100 times. If I haven't said their name in the last week, I will not remember their name.
But the 2 weeks is not accurate. Because I've gone 6 months without talking to you, and I call you on the phone.
Yeah.
You know who I am.
Yeah. Well, you'll ask me specific, and basically what I have to do is I have to reconstruct from the very beginning of the interview, and something will have to trigger it. Then I can kind of slowly start to dredge up, okay, I can remember that. All right, okay, then this happened. But for instance,
it's deep within his very big brain.
Yeah, they brought up that you were on a show with John Tracy and I, and it's only just now the very faintest hint that you and I and John Tracy ever had a conversation on the show.
It wasn't a conversation.
I remember nothing about it.
It was a yelling.
It was a rant.
So you don't remember that?
It's very, very faint. I do remember you yelling. I remember I thought you won the debate even though you came off very poorly.
Okay, that's it. I probably did win the debate with what I said, but I didn't. I lost it in the.
You went after the jugular. I remember
right.
that. You called him out. You called him on the carpet, and so so these very, very vague things. I don't remember what you said. I don't remember. I just remember sort of the sense of it, but I don't remember any specifics.
Right.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get off on a tangent.
But it's not accurate to 2 weeks. That's just not true.
No, I mean that's pretty close. But in a lot of ways, my memory doesn't work the same way as other people does. I guess that's the best way I could put it. Some things are in the vault, some things aren't in the vault. I live very much in the now. I'm always thinking about what I find interesting and thinking about ways to stay stuff, and so
it could be a gift.
I totally think it's a gift. You have no idea how blessed I am. That I've not only have I completely forgiven my wife for everything she's done, I've forgotten everything she's done, and my children have done.
But that means you've forgotten the good things too, though.
Well, I know she does good things for me every day.
It must be awkward at the mall when people come up. Hey, Glenn, how's it going?
Absolutely terrifying. You have no idea. People in
talking.
church I see every single week.
You know who they are. You don't know their name.
No, actually, I don't remember where I know them. I don't know if I know them. I know that I don't know their name.
That happens to me all the time.
Is that terrifying to you? I hate
that.
I
mean, I do a lot of weddings and events, and a lot of them will remember me because I was out in front. But to me, they were just a person sitting at a table. I never even noticed them.
I stopped many years ago saying nice to meet you. Because what are you talking about? We met 3 times.
Oh,
like Brian the other day told me we met some other, 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
You wouldn't have remembered that.
No.
That's exactly what happened yesterday.
Yeah, that's what Bethany said.
Oh, yeah. You said, I said nice
I was
to
like,
meet
I
you.
was on your TV show.
Yeah.
You were like, oh,
so it's not just, I mean, I don't really think you have the problem you think you have.
Okay.
I think he does.
It does sound familiar
to
me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, probably more extreme than most people, I guess.
Yeah, but we all forget things.
No, I mean, there are people at church who I will know their name. It'll take me 15, 20 minutes to recall it.
Yeah.
And they've told me their name 10 times.
Yeah.
So I could sit there and I go over and over. I know this name. I know this name. It's got to be in there somewhere.
He's amazing because he still comes off as the smartest guy in the room.
He is the smartest guy in the room. He's the smartest guy in America. It's documented. I think you should have some of you. Like a lot of times, I don't mean to get crude here, but a lot of times women's breasts are too big and they have breast reduction surgery. You should think about a brain reduction surgery. Because there's no room for memory in there. It's just too big with thinking.
Yeah, but there's other important stuff in there. I don't want it reduced.
Yeah.
We need that.
We're okay. We're just going to stay where we are.
You should donate some of your brain to me. I'd take it. I'll take a fifth of your brain.
There's a lot of people I think you could donate to.
Yeah.
Look, this is the way I look at life, by the way. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. 99% of how life turns out is how hard you work.
That's for sure.
I disagree.
And your attitude toward it all.
I disagree.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us why.
It's what you believe. It's what you believe.
I don't know, there are a lot of lazy, worthless people who believe that they're just fantastically wonderful human beings. And
I agree that there are a lot of people who believe who don't do anything.
That they don't believe what's right. If you truly believe what's true and right, you will be a hard worker. It starts with what you believe. Because, Glenn, you're a hard worker because of what you believe. Like what you wrote me last night on that losing weight thing. That was amazing. But you came to believe that was your job. And I'm inside baseball here, folks. Apologize. but it was what you believed that caused you to succeed.
Yeah.
So you believed the right thing.
Yeah.
Well, and to me, that's it. Because most lazy people aren't lazy. They have no hope. They believe it'll never get better. They believe they can't win. That's why they're lazy. It's what you believe.
Yeah, I guess you could take it back to that.
569-1080. 569-1080 is the number if you'd like to join the broadcast. We're broadcasting to you this morning on KOAN, KVNT. Our call letters, that's what our call letters are. DanFagan.us if you want to listen to the show or watch it live on the internet. 7:44 is the time.
Give him a call. 569-1080. KOAN.
My bad back loves my Craftmatic.
My bad back loves my Craftmatic bed.
My bad back loves my Craftmatic adjustable bed.
These aren't actors. They're real people who sleep better every night thanks to their Craftmatic adjustable bed. Just call 800-371-9576. That's 800-371-9576 for prices and free information on today's Craftmatic adjustable beds. Call 800-371-9576. That's 800-371-9576.
Paid for by More for Alaska, Anchorage.
Taking pride in work when it comes from the heart. Doing your best and staying the course even in tough times. There are Alaskans who still understand the value of service and sacrifice. Matt Moore is one of those. Someone who knows that paying your dues should come before office and power. That leadership, wielded by inexperienced and self-interested hands, can be destructive.
This is Matt Moore. Lance Pruitt is proud of his record. A record of not fully funding education. Budget deficits that put our permanent fund at risk. And supporting mega projects we can't afford. My father once told me, whatever you choose to do it well. That's the way our country was. The way I'd like to see it be again. Where pride in work comes from actually doing an honorable job. Because that's the way it ought to be.
Matt Moore, a legislator we can be proud of.
Hi, this is Sean King.
And Larry King.
And we want to invite you to download our new podcast, Back and Forth with Sean and Larry.
Once a week, you'll get a first-hand look at what it's like to be me and to live with her.
Oh, yeah, and you'll see what it's like to live with him. We'll also talk to celebrities and newsmakers to see what they're up to.
Don't miss it.
Download Back and Forth with Sean and Larry King every Thursday at podcastone.com.
That's podcastone.com.
Dan Sullivan stands up for Alaskans. As Attorney General, he sued the federal government to stop Obamacare. In the U.S. Senate, Dan Sullivan will fight to repeal and replace the president's health care law and ensure decisions are made by patients and doctors, not Washington bureaucrats. Dan Sullivan for U.S. Senate.
Mark Begich claims he is an independent, but in Washington, he supports the president 97% of the time, voting for Obamacare that cost thousands of Alaskans their health coverage and created over $800 billion in new taxes for the rest of us. But it gets worse. While he cast the deciding vote for Obamacare, Mark Begich then voted to give his own office a special exemption and a taxpayer-funded subsidy for their health insurance. Mark Begich voting 97% of the time with President Obama, which is 100% wrong for Alaska. Paid for by the Cooperative of American Physicians Independent Expenditure Committee, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. www.capphysicians.com. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Gabe, your 2 minutes are up. Herman, your 2 minutes are up. Your 2 minutes is up.
This is Harry Crawford, and those were the actual words of Kathy Giesel during public testimony. I believe a legislator's first and most important job is to listen to you. As I go door to door, I'm hearing you say you want intelligent, realistic budgets, not the deficit budgets this legislature has passed time and time again. Now, Kathy Giesel wants to fix the permanent fund. Me, I want to set your permanent fund dividend in stone by putting it in the Alaska Constitution.
Harry Crawford's plan to constitutionalize a permanent fund will keep politicians' hands off your dividend. Harry voted against 7 capital budgets because they didn't balance. Harry Crawford sponsored the Red Stripe Law that keeps problem drinkers from buying alcohol. And Harry Crawford spearheaded the Trust the People initiative to let you elect your own U.S. senators.
Trust the people. Those are words I live by. This is Harry Crawford, and I would appreciate your vote.
Paid for by Crawford for Alaska, Anchorage.
Welcome back to Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel Show. Bonnie Cameron's off today. Bethany Markham is filling in for her. Our telephone number, we would love to hear from you, 569-1080, 569-1080. Mark Begich is coming up. We're broadcasting on KOAN, KVNT, also streaming live, video and audio, danfagan.us. Again, our number, 569-1080, 569-1080. I want to touch on the unity. You know, I called Alice Rogoff yesterday. I called Tony Hopfinger yesterday. Alice Rogoff, the publisher of the Anchorage or Alaska Dispatch News. Tony Hopfinger, he kind of runs the place, and we know that we know at least Alice was involved in the formation of the Unity ticket, and I've been calling her for well over a week now to ask her about it. She won't call me back. And this idea of unity, I want to touch on that for a minute, but let me take Paul's call, 569-1080, 569-1080. Paul, you're on.
Yes, thank you very much, Dan, and thank you, Glenn, for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I'm nervous. Please forgive me for my voice. But
no need to be nervous.
I heard that commercial from Senator Begich, where he is assisting Mark Fish, and yes. I had a couple of questions, and I have to go into work here real soon, so I can't stay around to ask him the question. But if you can get to he's talking about the surveillance state.
Yes,
and how
this is a Sullivan surveillance state, he calls it.
Correct. Yeah, I'm wondering what his positions are on the federal government using its agencies to, interfere with, people's proper business. The IRS scandal and also the corruption, corrupt FBI uses.
Yeah.
Which I think he's somewhat the beneficiary of.
Well, let me ask you a question, Paul. Who do you think abused power more when it comes to surveillance, George Bush or Barack Obama?
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that it is the president that we have right now. Yeah. And I think especially in light of the recent, revelations from Cheryl Atkinson's book about
amazing
about an agency perhaps planting classified documents deep within her computer for possible prosecution later on.
They even installed a line to her computer that she didn't order. The government did.
Right. And that's really scary stuff to me. And I know, that's gonna make me, tinfoil hat type, label, but that's actual corruption.
Absolutely.
More than Benghazi, which is just, flawed policy gone wrong.
Yes.
This is the use, especially with the IRS.
Yes.
And with the with either the FBI or NSA, this is using the tools of government against your enemy. This is worse than Nixon stuff.
Much worse.
I appreciate what the representatives have been doing. The House of Representatives has actually been doing their best, but they hit a stone wall in the Senate. And I just wondered if perhaps maybe. If they're worried about if we're worried about a surveillance state, maybe we should worry a little more about what's actually happening, not what potentially could be happening.
Thank you.
Because there's some bad stuff going on.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks for taking my call.
Appreciate that, Glenn. How can Mr. Begich have the audacity to act like Dan Sullivan is more of a surveillance state advocate than the guy he serves, Barack Obama?
He hasn't done a doggone thing. Mark Begich is either going to put up or shut up on this show, and it's going to happen in 15 minutes. I am not going to take for 5 seconds the idea, unless he can prove to me that he has represented somebody in court, that he has moved to repeal. I want to know exactly that he's going to check this president in any way. I don't care what your thoughts are. I don't care what your words are. I want to know what the actions are from Mark Begich. I don't believe for a second that he knows that this is one of the things that he was going to run on, and so he tried to make up a few things here and there. I don't think he's done a doggone thing about keeping this president or this government in check for 1 second. Now, here's the real difference, by the way, between the parties on this. The media keeps the Republicans in check. Nobody keeps the Democrats in check.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
That's the source of the problem right there, because the media controls the narrative, and that's what people hear. That's all they know.
Well, it's changing. You look at the ratings on cable news. Fox gets more ratings than MSNBC, CNN, CNBC, CNN headline news combined. So the American people are onto their game.
I think that ties back to your conversation about the millennials, because they're the ones who are on the new media.
Yes.
They're not being indoctrinated by, the traditional media.
And I know Facebook does a lot of harm, but it also exposes those who would normally be indoctrinated only with leftism to conservative thought.
You want to know the biggest benefit that I've seen, by the way, from Facebook and its interaction with newspapers? Conservatives have gotten a lot better at arguing. They don't just get on there and make some speech that's totally disconnected from all reality, and you have to have all this background and all this information in order to be able to believe it or already agree with the person. They actually make really good arguments now, and they never had to before. And the left they've been great at arguing. They've been great at laying foundations. A friend of mine, her daughter goes off to University of Montana, and is convinced by people who, look, we just need to show you this video of how they treat, cows. You should know where your food comes from, okay? Do you disagree that you should know where your food comes from? So they start by asking questions, and it sounds pretty nice. Girl turns out to be vegetarian because they convinced her, look, they are totally destroying all this food product, and they torture it, they're massacring it, and it's disgusting. You shouldn't put this stuff in your mouth for 5 seconds. So they know how a good argument's made. They know how to convince people, how to rewrite, essentially rewire the person from the ground up. Conservatives, we should have less government. That's it. Okay, well, what if we need government? Shouldn't we have roads or something like that? No, and so we've just been terrible at arguing. And that I see changing. So I see Facebook as a big benefit in that area.
Well, I think we've always relied too much on the facts. I hate to say that because facts are facts, and you'd think that would be exactly what we need for making the case. But that is not what makes the case with most people. It's like that indoctrination video about the cattle that you're talking about. It's those emotional arguments are what actually make the case for people. When you get to their heart and how they feel about things, that's what makes the case, not the facts and the data. And we've spent too much time concentrating on and trying to use the facts and the data to make our case, and it's just not effective.
That speaks ill for us, by the way, at the AO 37.
Yeah, exactly. They've got the emotional argument. We just got the facts.
Yeah, because, I mean, look, as somebody who's going to go out and risk their life, and even though they don't use 4 people on a fire truck anywhere else in the country, it's just here, and they're just looking to feather their nest, they actually make us less safe. But they come on and say, look, you could be endangering our lives if you don't give us something that they don't use anywhere else. What are you supposed to say? I don't know. It's so disappointing to watch the fire department and the police department tell us that we'll be less safe unless their nest is feathered. It's so disappointing.
And it's so degrading to the public officials who represent us to imply that they don't want us to be safe, that they wouldn't do everything they can to make us safe.
Or that we wouldn't unelect people if they weren't keeping
if they
us
weren't
safe.
doing it, exactly.
Yeah.
Really...
Here was one of the funniest things I saw, by the way. We're talking about AO 37, which is you have to flip your ballot over. Have you seen the ballot?
Yes, I voted, yeah. So you flip it over, and the very last thing, vote yes.
And so is it like a whole page full of stuff?
So there's all the judges on one column, and then the second column is about halfway down of judges, and then right after that, the very last thing is Proposition 1.
I'm still working on I got an inside line, so I'm just going to help me out with judges. But if you don't know, vote no. That is the line that we
default
use on judges. If you don't know which judges to vote for, then vote against them all, and that'll at least give us a chance to get rid of some of the bad ones.
U.S. Senator Mark Begich is next on the program. 569-1080 if you want to ask the senator a question. 569-1080. You're listening to Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel on KOAN, KVNT. Again, the number 569-1080. KVNT. Again, the number 569-1080.
You know what I didn't learn in law school? How much time is spent on documents, preparing them, revising them, and scanning and routing them, and if all goes well, having my clients sign them.
With intelligent printers and MFPs, customized apps and services, Kyocera Document Solutions helps you capture, distribute, and manage the many documents that matter.
Legal Documents 101. Now that ought to be a course.
If the document is important, the company is important.
Royal Business Systems has been a leading provider of high-quality business technology and services since 1990. Royal Business Systems provides HP, Okidata, and Kyocera printers and MFPs, and support recognized throughout the industry as best in class. Come to Royal Business Systems for the total document solution you need to succeed in a competitive marketplace. Don't call 1-800-WHO-CARES. Call Royal Business Systems at 563-4118. That's 563-4118. Or visit us at akcopy.net.
You're listening to Hot Talk, KOAN, Anchorage, AM 1080, and retranslated on 95.1 FM on K236CG, Anchorage.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. The U.S. Defense Chief announces the Pentagon version of a mandatory quarantine for troops returning from Ebola duty. Fox News Radio's Jared Halpern live at the White House.
All U.S. troops returning from the Ebola response mission in West Africa will be quarantined for 21 days. That order approved by Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel after he says discussions by commanders and military families.
They very much wanted a safety valve on this.
The policy is more than what the Centers for Disease Control recommends for civilians. President Obama saying the military situation is different since troops deployed to West Africa are not going by choice. The Pentagon has said the troops deploying to West Africa will not have direct contact with Ebola patients. Lisa.
Jared, the attorney for a nurse now under voluntary isolation in Maine after forced quarantine in New Jersey, says there are no plans for legal action at this time and that she's hoping Maine will change its policy. The Maine governor emphasizing today that the state will do what's necessary to enforce its protocols. The nurse has said she won't remain in isolation for an extended term. Beefed up security at federal buildings in the nation's capital and other major U.S. cities, though Homeland Security cites no new specific threat. The UK taking similar steps in central London because of recent incidents and the threat from ISIS.
Soldiers in ceremonial red uniforms and large black hats stand outside Horse Guards parade ground here in London, close to the British Parliament. It's a popular tourist attraction. But the guards have now been joined by armed soldiers in camouflage gear carrying assault rifles. This coming days after a soldier was killed at Canada's National War Memorial.
Fox Radio's Simon Owen. Just this morning, an arrest in Britain suspected of being linked to Syria. A man accused of assisting someone else in terror-related offenses. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
If you're looking for exhilaration, you found it. Whether cruising the road with a KOAN AM Spyder, pounding trails with KOAN AM ATVs and side-by-sides, or carving snow with Ski-Doo sleds, these machines are engineered to thrill and perform. During the Yellow Tag event, save up to $4,000 on select models, plus get up to a 4-year extended warranty and great financing. Visit Team CC in Eagle River and Wasilla. Offer ends October 31st. Restrictions apply. Subject to credit approval. See dealer for details. For safety and training info, contact the ATV Safety Institute.
America was built by people with a few dollars and a dream. And while many don't know it, there's one path to success that still only requires a dream and about $10. That's right. If your dream is to start or grow your business, something as simple as the right business card could make all the difference. And today at Vistaprint.com, you can get 500 full-color business cards for only $9.99. That's right, only $9.99. Just go to Vistaprint.com and enter promo code 1818 at checkout. That's Vistaprint.com, promo code 1818.
Here's my good friend, Keith Montronock.
Automotive repairs can be frustrating. Let me help. Call 349-1637. I have been in business for nearly 20 years at the same location. Specialty Truck and Auto is in South Anchorage behind the Long Branch Saloon where Diamond becomes Abbott. I have 6 ASE certified technicians working from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. I have a voucher for any of the 6 Alaska Laser Wash locations for each customer. If you schedule ahead and need a ride when you drop your vehicle off, I may be able to help. Call Specialty Truck and Auto, 349-1637.
I'm Mark Begich, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Paid for by Alaskans for Baggage.
Who will protect your privacy rights in the U.S. Senate? Dan Sullivan worked for Condoleezza Rice, one of the architects that threatens Alaskans' liberty, like extending the Patriot Act that allows the government unlimited access to your personal records. And when Sullivan was with the National Security Council, the NSA authorized warrantless wiretaps of U.S. citizens. Sullivan is bankrolled by the billionaire Koch brothers, who have been manipulating the oil markets for years, driving up gas prices. And Sullivan even opposes the Stand Your Ground law that allows you to defend yourself in your own home. Only 2 candidates oppose the Patriot Act and NSA wiretapping and support Stand Your Ground. And that's Mark Begich and Libertarian Mark Fish. True Alaskans fighting the Dan Sullivan surveillance state.
Hi, this is Jonathan Martin at Harrington & Company. Sellers, if you are going to sell your home, now may very well be the best time. The current interest rates are still very low in comparison to previous loan rates. Now is the time to take advantage of this uncommon phenomenon. We will look back at this period as a golden opportunity to buy or sell. Homeowners planning to sell should call us at 244-0821. We will be happy to come out and do a comparative market analysis at your convenience. Call Jonathan Martin at Harrington & Company, 244-0821. That's 244-0821.
I'm Bill Walker. A recent poll found that 55% of Alaskans think I am the candidate for governor most likely to get construction started on a gas pipeline, versus only 33% who thought it was Sean Parnell. Now that makes sense. Parnell doesn't seem to know what project he supports. Until recently, he was pushing for a gas pipeline through Canada. 2 years ago, he was all for a small diameter pipeline. Now in a pre-election epiphany, he's finally decided he supports a large diameter LNG project. On the other hand, I have long advocated for an LNG project at Tidewater. I know the players, I know the markets, I know what it takes to get a project underway. As governor, I will see an LNG project started and finished. As for the other guy, who knows what project he'll be supporting 2 years from now. As governor, I will finish the job. Alaska first, it's time.
Paid for by Walker and Malott for Alaska.
Hot Talk, KOAN, man.
Weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m. on the Talk of the Valley, KVNT.
6 minutes past 8 o'clock. Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel. Bonnie Cameron's off today. Bethany Markham is in here in the studio with us, helping us out while Bonnie's gone. Our number 569-1080. 569-1080 if you'd like to ask Senator Begich a question. He's our guest here on the phone with us, and we welcome now to the broadcast Senator Begich. How are you?
Very good. How are you guys?
I'm good. How's the campaign going?
Well, we're busy. We were up in Fairbanks yesterday. Today I'll be in Anchorage. My wife is down in Cordova. My mother will be in Barrow. So, you know, it's a little bit of a family affair as we travel around the state talking to Alaskans. But, you know, I'm glad I'm back today. I'll be busy. Tonight we have a Channel 2 debate. And,
that's a big one, huh?
It's a big one, but I'm a little worried because the 7th game of the World Series, I hope it doesn't go long. You know what I mean?
What time's the debate, do you know?
I think we are scheduled at 6 or 6:15.
Okay, yeah, that's right in the heart of the World Series.
I know.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we're in a World Series in our own way. So I'm a little, I'm a little distraught about it. I mean, I love that it's a 7th game because, it's always, everyone goes crazy.
Yeah, it's
right.
Yeah, it's
everyone's
exciting.
going to go crazy. 7th game, it'll be just wild, no matter what happens.
I think a lot of people are really into this race, though. I think you'll probably I think your ratings will probably be a little bit better than the World Series.
Well, I'm glad you believe that. I hope so. It'd be nice if more people got engaged in what's going on around. I mean, we're 6 days out from the election, and it still surprises me how many people I run into, and they are, well, I'm not sure I need to participate, or my vote doesn't count, or who's going to listen, that kind of tone. And so you're constantly out there. I was at the university in Fairbanks talking to students, and, a chunk of them obviously are interested because they came to where I was talking, but then there's a group that just kind of, well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But I'm enjoying the campaign. I feel good about where we're at. I feel like we definitely have some momentum right now, and we just need to keep getting out there to talk to Alaskans, as I've always done. As you know, I'll go anywhere, talk to anybody about what we need for Alaska, and I'll travel anywhere. And that's
well, we appreciate you calling the show.
No, I'm happy to. As you know, I'm not bashful about.
No, I know you're not. How many times do you think I've interviewed you through your career?
Oh my gosh, through my career?
Yeah,
a lot. Because I think I almost felt like at one point. Matter of fact, I think I might have hosted one of your shows
you
with Julie Haskell.
That's
Remember
right.
That? I think
That's
I did.
Right. That's right.
So you let me go on there, and about 50 questions came ripping through the phone lines. And I thought I don't know if I was going to survive or not, but a lot, dozens. And,
you've always been so gracious to come on, take any questions. And
yep.
I was thinking about what I could ask you today that I haven't asked you in the past, and I know Glenn has a lot of questions for you, but I don't think you and I have ever discussed the issue of abortion and when life begins and what, if anything, should be done to protect the life of a baby inside a mother's womb. What is explain to me your position on when life begins
Sure. Let me just say this. I'm a believer that I don't think anyone is for abortion. I don't think anyone has it on their list of this is what should be done. But I believe that women should make their own decisions when it comes to this issue. It shouldn't be the government dictating one way or another, and that's going to be really a decision that's between her and her God or her family or a doctor or wherever she believes that she has to make this decision or with whom she has to make this decision. And I just believe that that's a role that government should not be engaged in. And
the question specifically is though, when do you believe life begins?
Well, I guess, Dan, I don't have not my own personal views, but I will say that I just don't believe government should be in the middle. Listen, for politicians to start deciding the science, I think is a huge mistake. We have enough doctors and scientists out there. We don't need politicians.
But I think it's important to know your position.
Well,
your personal opinion, because obviously as a legislator, that will affect your decision. And I understand what your result. I understand what the result of what you believe is.
Right.
That you believe that it should be up to the woman. But I guess my question is, do you believe that baby, or that as some would say, a fetus inside a mother's womb? Do you believe that's a life? Do you believe that's a baby?
Well, Dan, I'm not going to walk down that path. I've made my views, very clearly, because here's my views. My votes reflect where you and I disagree on this, and that is, I believe that, government in a situation when, for example, when we had an amendment on the floor of the Senate, as you recall, I don't support several of the amendments that others have brought forward in defining where life begins. I've not supported that.
But I don't understand why you wouldn't answer such a simple question as, is that baby inside the mother's womb during the 9 months, is that a life? Why would you not answer that?
Well, Dan, because my actions already answer that question. And
so you don't believe it's a life?
Well, I'll just say, again, I have a very personal view on this, but I have a view as a public policymaker.
And what is your personal view?
Well, I believe that, people have the right to make this decision.
No, but regarding the baby and whether that's a life,
Dan,
what is the personal view on that?
Yeah, Dan, I'm just not going to go there with you, to be frank.
But I don't understand why you wouldn't answer such a simple question.
Because I've answered it by my actions.
Well, no, you said that you believe, Dan, there are plenty of people who believe it's a life and believe the mother should still be the determinant in whether the baby's life ends. There are some who believe that it's not a life and therefore you should end the life, or it should be able to have an abortion. Very simple, basic, fundamental question: is a baby inside a mother's womb?
Do I believe in the personhood amendments and those issues? No, I don't.
No, I'm not asking about amendments.
Well, that does define the issue.
But I'm asking you: do you believe a baby inside a mother's womb is a life? Yes or no?
Well, Dan, there's certain moments in time, and I do have a belief, and I've said over and over again. For example, what I deal with is when legislation comes forward, and the personhood amendment is one of those amendments that define.
But I'm not talking about amendments.
No, but Dan, that is, I'm dealing with the reality, what I deal with as a public policymaker. How I feel. Do I want, personally, would I want my wife to have an abortion? No.
Why not?
Because I just personally believe that, I have a personal belief on that. But
what is the personal belief on that?
But listen, if there is a decision she's going to make, at the end of the day, she's going to make that decision. I will support her.
Well, why would you not want your wife to have an abortion?
Well, Dan, again, I'm not going to make. I have a personal view. I'm not there to say people should be out there promoting abortion. No one promotes abortion.
You don't think, Senator, though, if you're going to run for a position as important as U.S. Senate, that people should know your position?
Well, they do know my position.
No.
Dan, the Right to Life group pounds on me every day with ads against me, and they send out flyers.
You don't think that they should know what's behind your policy decisions? In other words, if you're for more taxes, you believe in wealth redistribution. If you're for less taxes, you believe people should be able to keep more of their money.
I don't mind talking for a half hour.
I'm asking for the origination.
I'm not going to, Dan. I've answered your question. I've answered your question.
So
Dan, I've answered your question.
Okay.
I know you want to spend a half hour, but
I just one last just so I'm clear. You do not want to tell us whether you believe a baby inside.
No, I don't believe in the personhood amendment. I believe people need to make this decision personally, and the woman needs to make this decision, and not government interfering in this decision.
We're talking to U.S. Senator Mark Begich. Glenn has some questions for the senator right after this. Plus phone calls backing up 569-1080. Stay with us. Right after this. Plus phone calls backing up 569-1080. Stay with us.
Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
This is Olympic cross-country skier Holly Brooks. Do you know a girl who loves camping, sports, and science, community service, and making new friends? If so, she's ready to be a Girl Scout. Girl Scouts creates leadership opportunities for girls. They develop life skills, habits of teamwork, and a strong sense of self. Girl Scouts gives every girl a chance to discover who she is and what she can be. How do I know? Because I was a Girl Scout. Visit www.girlscoutsalaska.org or call 248-2250.
6 years ago, we took a chance on Mark Begich. Begich promised us he'd be an independent voice for Alaska. Instead, he's voted with Barack Obama 97% of the time for Obamacare, wasteful spending, and trillions in debt. Begich supported them all, even though they hurt Alaska. 6 years ago, Begich promised to fight for ANWR. 6 years later, ANWR is still closed to exploration, and Begich stood by as Obama's overzealous EPA hurt Alaska. Instead of taking responsibility for his failures and broken promises, Begich is running a vicious campaign with attacks called some of the most dishonest and inflammatory of the year. We gave Mark Begich a chance. He gave us a record of Obamacare, wasteful spending, and broken promises. We can't afford 6 more years of Mark Begich. Alaska needs a change. American Crossroads paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.americancrossroads.org.
Harry Crawford looks to be...
That's it. Your time is up.
I'm Senator Kathy Giesel. It's time to set the record straight. Only in an election year would you hear someone paint a $52 million funding increase as a cut in education funding. Only in an election year would you hear that a $2 billion cut was actually a budget increase. Only in an election year would you hear someone claim they work hard to keep your energy bills low. All the while, Harry Crawford's first vote on the Chugach Electric Board was to vote himself a raise. It's reflective of a candidate who has no record of accomplishments, no ideas, and no desire to serve you. Alaskans deserve better than that. I'm Senator Kathy Giesel, and I'll continue to do the hard work necessary to improve education outcomes, keep energy costs low, and make sure generations of Alaskans will have the jobs they need. That's my no-nonsense promise to you. Paid for by re-elect Senator Kathy Giesel, Anchorage.
Alaska's Energy, America's Values, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com.
Mark Begich is unbelievable.
Washington thinks it knows what's best for Alaska, and that's what I'm fighting against every day.
Fighting? Begich voted for all Obama's appointments, like Sally Jewell as Secretary of the Interior. Jewell immediately said no to exploration in ANWR and no to a King Cove road. Begich didn't fight Washington. He rolled over, like he rolled over for Obamacare. Now Begich is trying to duck and hide on Obamacare, on oil taxes, on cap and trade, on the IRS scandal, even on ANWR. How can you deliver ANWR, Mark, when Harry Reid says a Democrat-controlled Senate will never allow an ANWR vote? Alaskans can't trust a thing Begich says. It's time to replace Malarkey Mark with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan.
Hi, this is Brian Stan. I was a Marine Corps officer before becoming a UFC fighter. Military experience can add greatly to your life, as it has mine. The Air Force Reserve offers many part-time jobs in Alaska, which will allow you to continue your civilian career at the same time. You'll receive excellent training, educational assistance, and many other benefits. Join an outstanding team in the Air Force Reserve. For more information on the Air Force Reserve, go to afreserve.com.
This message is sponsored by the Air Force Reserve and aired by the Alaska Broadcasters Association and this local station.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel.
Weekdays, 6 to 9 a.m. The Talk of the Valley, KVNT.
All right, 819 569 1080. You'll probably get a busy signal. Our lines are all lit up. We'll have some open up here for you in a minute. Talking to U.S. Senator Mark Begich.
Senator Begich, thanks for coming on the program. This is going to be a little wonkish, but it's one of the things you were credited with in the Anchorage Daily News. What was George Bush's last year deficit?
Last year deficit when he left office?
Mm-hmm.
When I came in 2009, I can tell you what the deficit was around that point was $1.2, $1.4 trillion annual deficit.
Okay.
Are you talking debt or deficit?
Deficit, the yearly shortfall.
Yeah.
So, and you don't want to change that answer because it's the answer all liberals give, and I debate them. They lose every time. I just want to make sure that you're ready for being contradicted by the facts. You don't want to change that answer at all.
No, because, well, I'll tell you.
Do you remember stimulus that was passed in January of 2009, sir?
Yes.
Really? And you count that as George Bush's deficit? Come on.
No, that was $700 and some billion.
It was $829 billion
in final, but go ahead.
And that's George Bush's deficit.
Go to your point.
No, my question is, I want you to be honest with us. The real difficulty we have, you just said that you couldn't believe people were disengaged from the discussion. You've run the most negative campaign I've ever seen. What do you expect people to do?
Well, I guess, Glenn, I would disagree. For example, maybe you missed my first commercials, especially when I talked about Arctic Oil and Gas. I talked about the F-16s. I talked about veterans' health care.
Can you be honest with me for just a little while about George Bush's deficit? What was George Bush's deficit the last year he was in office, please?
The last year, well, he presented a budget that wasn't reality. Okay?
You guys passed an $829 billion bill, which he did not vote on. He did not intend for it to be in his budget. He was $550 billion in deficit.
No president votes on a budget. You understand that?
Okay, so are you going to come off of that, or are you going to say it was 1.2 or 1.4 trillion? Are you going to stay with that?
That's the number that was.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Now, you say that you are against the surveillance state. Have you represented anybody who has tried to fight this president?
Have I ever represented him? I'm not a lawyer.
Oh, well, you could go and you could fight with them. You could argue on their behalf. You could go up against the president and
well,
Harry
I will
Reid.
tell you what I've done. When the Patriot Act has come up, that's a vote I get to take. I voted against it. I've also sponsored legislation to streamline the NSA because I think they've gone too far in their efforts.
What do you mean they've gone too far?
Well, I think they when they're doing their analysis and their collection of data, they have gone too far in their extension of collection of data. There's no question in my mind. So this restricts some of their collection. It also creates more transparency.
So would it stop Cheryl Atkinson maybe from having her computer looked into?
It also goes after the special courts, who I think have extended far beyond these secret.
But all this is under you, and it's all this under your president. I mean, why don't you take responsibility?
Patriot Act? When did that happen? Are you kidding me?
No, not the Patriot Act.
Yeah,
all the activities. Look, George Bush did not get to do 1/10 of what Obama's doing.
That is what. Well, that is absolutely incorrect.
Wow.
Glenn, and you're saying the Patriot Act, FISA, which have created these surveillance components, are just created under the Obama administration, only used under the Obama administration? You must be kidding. You got to be joking.
Well, their power was severely limited, and it was never exercised while George Bush was in power because we had a media that would stop them. Who's stopping Obama?
Glenn, most of the people didn't know what the last administration was doing until more exposure.
Then you know. Why don't you tell us what the last administration did wrong using those courts, FISA,
well,
and all the NSA?
I think they took the law that, in theory, was it was passed after 9/11.
Do you have any specifics?
They've extended what they were able to look at far beyond what I believe they should be able to do. And I'm just telling you.
And you have specifics for this, or is this just a general objection?
No, some of it is done in these closed-door meetings we have to hear what these courts are doing or not doing. And I'm telling you from my own analysis, in and outside, public information, as well as stuff that's done in what we call the bunker, I've come to believe that they have extended far beyond what the original law was set up to do.
Why won't Democrats stop it then? You guys have a majority. You had 60 votes. You could have done whatever you wanted. When you had 60 votes, why didn't you do what all these things which you said you don't like or wanted to do?
Well, I wish it was that simple. You know, everything we need requires 60 votes. If you recall,
what's
it's
not
also,
simple about it?
whoa. Let me finish, Glenn. Your assumption is it's just Democrats that are talking about it. There's Democrats and Republicans that have teamed up and said, no, there's an amount of information that the federal government needs for all this. If you look at the voting record on the Patriot Act when it was reauthorized, a hell of a lot of Republicans voted to reauthorize that. So don't be confused here, Glenn. Don't make it a Democrat issue only. You are trying to spin it because that's good for your station, but the reality is, go look at the last 3 votes of the Patriot Act. See who voted for that. And you'll see a hell of a lot of your friends, your Republican friends, who voted for it. So we don't have 60 votes to turn this the other direction because some of your guys love the way this works.
The IRS scandal, did you do anything about that?
Now you don't like to talk about it because...
No, I don't have a problem. Look, there's lots of different people on different sides of the aisle. What I want to make sure people understand is you did not have a single specific about the NSA when George Bush was president, and that's because the bill that bill was not abused until this president got into office.
So mistake, Glenn.
Okay, well then give us a specific.
Glenn,
come on, Senator.
Let me ask you again.
Come on.
Let me ask you again. Your statement that how Democrats didn't change this. Let's make sure we're clear on one thing here, Glenn.
Okay.
You and I will agree that Democrats and Republicans voted to keep Patriot Act in place. Correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So. To try to change it is not a Democratic-only issue. So I'm happy. We have legislation pending. I would love to pass. Senator Wyden has put it forward, as others. I'm all for it. I'm for changing it.
Well, until you represent people who actually have been wronged by this, or can give us an example.
Well, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer.
Oh, okay. Well, so you act like you're going to pass laws. Have you ever gotten a bill passed? I think there's 2 of them.
I love. Thank you for asking that question because I know that's the talking points from my opponent and the Republicans. First off, you're right. There's two bills that I passed, but put this aside. Here's what I have done. I've introduced legislation that I have put into other bills that have passed. For example, I'll walk through them for you. First off, working with Senator Cornyn, we put a piece of legislation forward to make sure that veterans who are or military who are serving overseas got more time on their sending their ballot back because they were shorted on time.
Was that 100-0 vote?
Wait, let me finish. That bill we inserted into National Defense Authorization Bill. Now it's law. We also moved forward, and for example, on telemedicine, I worked with Kelly Ayotte. Telemedicine co-payments for active military used to be that they would have to pay a copay or their doctor. They couldn't hold their doctor depending on where they moved around the state. That was a bill I put forward. Now it's inserted. It was inserted in National Defense Authorization Bill some time ago. We got it passed. When it came time,
can I ask what that has to do with defense authorization?
Pardon me?
Can I ask what that has to do with defense authorization?
Well, when a bill is moving, sometimes you can wait for your bill by itself, or you merge the bill.
I understand.
Yeah.
But standalone, you weren't able to garner the support.
You guys live in a fantasy world. Here's how it works. That defense authorization bill dealt with our military, so of course it had something to do with our military. To make sure our military can have telemedicine, mental health services. Are you kidding me? Of course that deals with our active military. The bill was by itself, and we saw an opportunity to put it into another vehicle to get it passed. We did it. Same thing I did on traditional foods. Traditional foods for Alaska Native people, I put it into the Farm Bill because I saw the Farm Bill moving. Or, take another example, a bill to ensure that individuals who were getting too much burden paperwork regarding the Dodd-Frank bill, I worked with Senator Thune. It's called the Red Flag Bill. Just because you don't have your name floating out there in grand lights doesn't mean we're not getting stuff done.
There is a bit of a difficulty when there's never a floor vote. You understand that Republicans would never have been able to do that because the media would have held Republicans feet to the fire.
These bills had floor votes.
No. Republicans never get a floor vote. We never get an amendment ever.
Oh no, that's ever, never.
Well, on what do you give, like two the entire time?
No,
there hasn't been any
Farm Bill. Let me give you an example.
Go ahead.
79.
What did you guys allow the Republicans to put forward on that?
Can I finish? 79 amendments were on that bill. Several that I voted for and supported by Senator Coburn. One, for example, limited farmers who made over $1 million from the subsidies, as one example. There were many. I think it was almost 50-50 because every time we offered one, they offered one. 79 amendments. This fabrication that when there's bills like this that no Republicans get amendment is just absolutely false, Glenn.
Senator Begich,
you're listening to too many talking points.
Well,
we got some calls backing up here.
Point,
We got to take a break. We'll come right back with Senator Begich, and we'll take your calls for him. 569-1080 if you'd like to speak to Senator Mark Begich, U.S. Senator. 569-1080. We'll be right back. Senator, 569-1080. We'll be right back.
Don't just sit there. Give them a call. 569-1080. Join the conversation. KOAN.
Local news brought to you by Jansen Funeral Homes, Jansen's Evergreen Memorial Chapel, Jansen's Alaska Cremation Center, and Jansen's Eagle River Funeral Home. Jansen Funeral Homes, where just like family, they're there when you need them.
With KOAN News, I'm Chuck White. The Matsuboro School District has refuted rumors a teacher at Houston Middle School who recently traveled to South Africa has Ebola. Local school officials say the rumor that spread on social media was not correct. The Anchorage School District reportedly may allow military recruiters back in local schools. And Kenda has an update.
ASD kicked military recruiters off campus after allegations that they were inviting high school students to parties, offering them alcohol and making suggestive comments. Recruiters may be allowed back, but only after a series of meetings that outlines the expectations for appropriate behavior.
Baby wipes sold here and in other states are being recalled due to possible bacterial contamination. The recall involves new tech disposables that were sold in stores, including Sam's Club and Walgreens, before October 21st. That's your Hot Talk News update.
Partly sunny skies for this afternoon, high 31. Cloudy skies and cold tonight, low 19. Partial sunshine for tomorrow, high 32. Tomorrow night, low 15. Friday, cloudy skies with snow, little to no accumulation, high 30. And for Saturday, high 33. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather, KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Hey folks, this is Chris and Brock from The Beer Show. Make sure to listen to us every Saturday at 5 p.m. on 95.1 and 1080 KOAN.
The Beer Show is brought to you proudly every single week by Humpy's Great Alaska Ale House, Brown Jug Alaska, Great Artisan Beverages, and the Odom Corporation. Always drink responsibly.
A better life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
The World Health Organization lists mobile phone use in the same cancer hazard category as lead and engine exhaust. You know how to protect yourself? I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent. Radiation from a cell phone is like a low-powered microwave. This is one of the reasons the fine print in most cell phone safety manuals tells users to not keep the phone next to their head or even in their pocket. A weak signal can cause your phone to work harder, giving off even more radiation. I'm a neurosurgeon, and I always use a wired earpiece or the speakerphone when I'm on the phone. Every inch you get the phone away from your body significantly reduces the amount of radiation you're absorbing. Here's another good tip. If you're using a smartphone or other device to watch a movie or play a game, switch it to airplane mode. That's going to keep it from transmitting and receiving and cuts down on radiation. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-700-5961. That's 1-800-700-5961. Again, 1-800-700-5961. Call now.
There's a lot of so-called experts out there claiming to have the key to success in business for a price. Are you ready for real business advice you can trust without a fee? Then don't miss Getting Down to Business with David Weatherholt. Advice from people in the know. Technology, finance, taxes, and more. Business people helping business people take their skills and services to the next level. Getting Down to Business with David Weatherholt. Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. on Hot Talk, KOAN, 95.1 FM and 1080 a.m.
And I approve this message.
These negative ads are everywhere.
Yeah, I stopped listening and did my own research.
Yeah, what did you find?
Well, I found I really like Dan Sullivan.
Well, I know he served in the Marines for 20 years, and he'll fight against President Obama and Democrats in Washington to protect my Second Amendment rights.
And did you know when he was our Attorney General, he worked to put an end to violence against women, defended the constitutionality of Alaska's Parental Notification Initiative Act, and sued the federal government to stop Obamacare.
I like that. What else you got?
Well, as a veteran himself, he's dedicated to fixing the problems plaguing Obama's VA. And he'll fight to ensure they get all the benefits they've earned.
Dan Sullivan. I'm sold.
Me too.
Dan Sullivan, a principled leader for Alaska. Dan Sullivan for U.S. Senate. Paid for by Allen West Guardian Fund, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. AllenWestGuardianFund.com. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Gabrielle Ledoux is running for State House for all the right reasons. Her opponent is promising to do what Ledoux is already doing. Gabrielle walks her talk. She believes in results over rhetoric. Walking door to door, year after year, Gabrielle Ledoux knows that it's what local residents want that matters. As your representative, Gabrielle Ledoux continues to fight for funding for good roads and public safety. Gabrielle Ledoux fought for the local parks that we all value and that our families all use. Gabrielle Ledoux fought for responsible school funding to make sure our children are prepared to compete for jobs and for responsible economic decisions to make sure job opportunities exist.
I'm Gabrielle Ledoux. I've worked hard to represent East Anchorage and J-Bear, and I'd appreciate your continued support.
Paid for by Ledoux for State House, 8859 Cross Point Loop, Anchorage, 99504.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 569 1080. Okay.
8:36 in the morning. Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, talking to Senator Mark Begich. We'll take your phone calls for him. 569-1080. 569-1080. Are we ready to go in there, Brian? No. Talk to me.
Here, well, let me
Hold
give.
on, Glenn.
Looks like we lost him. Maybe he'll call back.
Lost the senator. Okay. Well, you want to take some calls, Glenn? Or?
Yeah, but let me just read something here from you. This is from the Washington Examiner. Democrats don't mind that Harry Reid is blocking some of their ideas, and this goes to the question of amendments on the floor.
Brian? Okay, we should have gotten his number.
Election year strategy of limiting the number of amendment votes they face, even though it means some of their own ideas haven't gotten a chance. Democrats don't mind that. Here's the bit about Mark Begich. Freshman Senator Mark Begich of Alaska has never received a floor vote on an amendment he authored. And that's because Harry Reid has been the most closed leader of the United States. And
Brian,
Mark Begich doesn't represent
just
anything else.
Me and he said that
amazing.
The line's not working.
Well, that would explain it.
Is that him?
Even.
Hold on a second. You got it, Brian.
Hello?
You there? Okay, Senator. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. We're going to take some calls for you now.
Go for it.
569-1080. Let's go to Lisa. Lisa, you're on with Senator Mark Begich.
Hello?
Yes, you're on. Okay. Want to try another line? No?
Am I still here?
Yeah, who's this?
This is Mark out in Wasilla.
All right, hold on, Mark. Do we have Senator Begich? Mark? Do we have Senator Begich, Brian?
He's working on it.
I'm here.
Okay, all right, we're here.
I'm sorry, this is a messed up system.
All right, so who are we talking to now? We got Mark Begich and who else? No callers?
I'm here.
Yeah,
all right,
I need to
Senator.
go back and find out.
Okay, hold on a second. We're going to check to see if there's...
But I'm here, so you have me. I'm trying to hold on here.
All right. Just put anybody on, Brian. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We got a whole bunch of people waiting in line
put them
for you.
on. Let's go. I got a few minutes only. Come on, let's go.
I know.
Technology.
I know. It's gone
Sometimes
beyond
it's our
that.
friend, sometimes it's our enemy.
All right, here
what
we go.
happened to the dial phone?
I know.
Lisa.
Lisa, you're on with Mark Begich.
Hi, good morning. How
Good
are
morning.
you?
Good.
Yes, please.
I'm from Iliamna, and my question to Baggage is, why did he shut down all the business for the people that live out there and didn't come to Iliamna to listen to the folks that actually live near the Pebble Mine? And now we're stuck with nothing, and nobody has a plan for the people that live out there. Why did he go to Dillingham, 100 miles away, to listen to people there and not actually come to where the people live near the mine that will be impacted? I mean, I don't get that. We're struggling right now. It's the middle of winter. All our businesses are hurting, and the people are hurting. I mean, that's what should matter to politicians, not, where can you get the most votes? I mean, we just are struggling every time we turn around. I don't understand why he invited EPA in here. I don't get that.
Lisa, let me go and respond. First, I didn't invite EPA in. The community felt the state was not responding to their needs and their feelings of what they thought the science should be reviewed, and so they requested EPA in, not me. I know that's a rumor out there and a talking point by the mine, but that's just not accurate. Second, I have gone to many places across the state, and I have met with many Alaskans, both in Washington, D.C., throughout Alaska, on this issue. Thousands of people have written me. Thousands of people have talked to me about it. I even had a meeting in my office where I brought the people who were the pro-mine people as well as the anti-mine people in the same office, same room, same time, to have the conversation about what they thought. I've supported mines across the state, and certain ones in Southeast, Niblack and Bocan and Kensington and Greens Creek. I can go through the list.
Do you support the EPA's usurping of state authority in advance of?
The EPA has a role which they've exercised here.
And you support the way that they've handled the situation with
I
Pebble?
don't support, as I've said before, I don't support a straight-out veto by them. I think they did the research and a component of the science, which they have now presented, and doesn't prevent the mine from moving forward. I just don't think that mine is the right mine in that place, the damage it could do long-term to the fishery. So the point is, on this one...
May I say something?
Sure.
You say that, but in the end, how do you know what the people that live there that really matter, what they want? We have gone to D.C. one time, and you did not see us. So I don't know who you're talking to. We're not pro-mining, but we're pro-process. Why couldn't the state just let them go through the process? You guys scared off every investor that came to Alaska that actually was investing in the state for our resources. They're gone. And now we're stuck. Figure out, okay, what do we do next for our village, for the people that live there? Nobody cares. And so you saying that you were not for this, you invited Maria Cantwell up. They're all for EPA coming in, and there's an investigation to find out where all this is, the special investigation the EPA is doing. Where's that at? Where's Phil North? I mean, we're the ones that are stuck with nothing out there. And everybody else is saying, we invited them. The people that invited them were people that lived 100 miles away. Our communities did not invite them in. We did not invite EPA in.
Well, again, I have heard from many Alaskans on this issue. I've made a decision. It's no different than what Senator Stevens made, or Governor Knowles or Hammond made when they had this issue in front of them, and indirectly as elected officials and non-elected officials. And I've made the decision based on what I believe the science tells me, but also thousands of Alaskans. I disagree there. Let me say one more thing, Dan, on this, that I disagree that the assumption is I've heard from people throughout the region, and not just from Dillingham, that have concerns over it. And
I want to get as many calls as we can.
Go.
Sandy, you're on with Senator Baggage.
Good morning, Senator Baggage.
Yes.
I'm a small business owner. We have 48 employees. And we really feel like the Health Care Act is a huge disaster. I did not get to keep my plan that I liked very much, and I had to change it for all of my employees. My employees are, people that make anywhere from starting minimum wage up to $20 an hour, and managers are a little bit above that. I pay as well as I can pay, but even my employees are getting hit with higher payroll taxes. And we can't expand our business because we're scared to death to go over 50. We've been offering insurance to our employees for years before the Health Care Act, and we may have to drop it because we don't know if we can afford it. So to insure, a certain amount of people, it would have been far cheaper to insure those 30 million people than to ruin everybody else's health care.
Well, let me respond very quickly, and that's the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. Here's one of the pieces of the puzzle, and you recognize that under 50 you don't have to provide it, but you're doing it, which is a great credit to you. That helps keep your employees the benefit of health care. I proposed an additional copper plan, which knocks down the premiums by another 18%. The rate reviews that have just come out, and actually the governor didn't announce them, but they're about 2 to 6% increase on small.
Senator, unfortunately, we're out of time.
Nope. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sandy, call our office. Happy to follow up with you.
844.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sandy, call our office. Happy to follow up with you.
844.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel. Give them a call. 569-1080. KOAN.
When you've got the best ingredients, the pizza comes out right. That's just what we're cooking for every appetite. Experience the flavor. Call us right away. 24/7. It's a pizza party day.
October is National Pizza Month. Just hearing the word pizza brings a smile to almost everyone's face. And Sicily's Pizza wants to make you smile 5 times as big with their National Pizza Month special. Get as many as 5 medium 2-topping pizzas for only $9.99 each. Whatever style you like. For fast delivery, call 333-8000 and order the Sicily's National Pizza Month special. 333-8000 or order online at SicilysPizza.com. Best ingredients, best pizza, Sicily's.
Just call Sicily's Pizza. 333-8000.
Do you know Lynn Gaddis?
Yeah, I know Lynn Gaddis. Drove a 570cc sled to the peak of McKinley in a gall dang blizzard.
Hey, I never did that.
I heard Lynn Gaddis skinned a rabbit with her teeth in 10 seconds flat.
That never happened.
I heard that Lynn Gaddis fights for conservative principles in state government.
Well, that's true. I'm Lynn Gaddis. I love to hunt and fish, and yes, I love to ride snow machines. But what I really love is making life better for my friends and neighbors in Wasilla by bringing common sense and conservative values to Juneau. I believe in a sustainable budget. I believe in regulatory reform and resource development. And I believe in school choice and parental rights. I'm Lynn Gaddis, and I'd appreciate your vote to keep skinning some rabbits in the state legislature.
I knew it!
Just kidding.
Paid for by committee to elect Lynn Gaddis, 1650 North Shoreline Drive, 99654.
If you're ready for the movies, there's just one place to go. Check out moviesandcom. It's showtime. Movie times, previews, and more. Get tickets, friends stuff. Lots of information to explore. Great restaurants. Now you'll know just where to go. Before and after every show. Check out moviesandcom. It's showtime.
Mark Begich votes with Barack Obama 97% of the time. Obamacare, trillions in new debt, job-killing EPA regulations. Mark Begich voted with Barack Obama for all of it. Now, Obama says,
I'm not on the ballot this fall. But make no mistake, these policies are on the ballot. Every single one of them.
A vote for Mark Begich is a vote for Obama's agenda. It's time for a change.
I'm Dan Sullivan. Our country's on the wrong track, and it's Barack Obama's failed policies that put us there. There's nothing wrong with America that can't be fixed by what's right with Alaska. As your senator, I'll stand up to Barack Obama and federal overreach, unleashing Alaskan energy to create jobs, fighting wasteful spending, and strengthening America's national security while taking care of our veterans. I'm Dan Sullivan. I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. I'd be honored by your vote.
Paid for by Sullivan for U.S. Senate.
My bet back
loves my Craftmatic.
My bed back loves my Craftmatic bed.
My bed back loves my Craftmatic adjustable bed.
These aren't actors. They're real people who sleep better every night thanks to their Craftmatic adjustable bed. Just call 800-371-9576. That's 800-371-9576 for prices and free information on today's Craftmatic adjustable beds. Call 800-371-9576. That's 800-371-9576.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080KOAN.com.
Fagan, Biegel, Bonnie's out today. Bethany Mark comes in for her KOAN, KVNT. Our good friend Keith Montauk, Specialty Truck and Auto. He's a mechanic you can trust. He's right across the street from the Long Branch Saloon off of Abbott. He's a trustworthy guy. You need automobile repair, he's the guy. His number, 349-1637. 349-1637. Make an appointment. You'll be glad you did. Again, 349-1637. Our number, 569-1080. 569-1080. Let's go to Mac. Mac, you're on.
It's
Mark. Sorry. Mark.
Okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, the person slid out of his chair in the call before I could ask him the question.
You were talking about Mark Begich, who was just with us.
He's a little slippery.
He's a little slimy. He was slimy when I used to live next door to him in the 80s, and he's still slimy today. I just got my new billing for Thank You Obamacare. I've had my own health insurance now for about 15 years. Before everything happened, I was paying $200 a month. Now, thank you to Mark Begich's deciding vote, if I want to keep my health care insurance, which is nowhere near the plan I used to have, I'd have to pay $800 a month and have basically a $15,000 deductible.
Wow. We got to get rid of him.
Wow.
We got to get rid of him, and we got to get rid of this law.
So what are you going to do, Mark?
I'm gonna just pay the fine.
Wow.
It's
cheaper.
that bad.
Yeah, it's cheaper.
Well, and then he won't have what he wants. What you really want, what you should be getting, is something in the marketplace that you want to buy. That's what you should be getting instead of nothing, just a fine.
I will be getting absolutely nothing. Thank you. Thank you, former next door neighbor Mark Begich, when he used to live on Modest Place.
And maybe future next door neighbor if we're lucky.
Yeah.
No, let's kick him out of the state.
He'll be a lobbyist just like all the other rich boys that go down to the Senate.
Yeah.
Mark, I appreciate your call. Thank you.
Have a good one.
569-1080. 569-1080. David, you're on.
Bethany, you shouldn't threaten that gentleman there with having to live next door to somebody that just raised his health insurance tremendously. But, Senator Begich, he says, I went to the healthcare exchange and I enrolled in Obamacare, and I didn't take any subsidies. What he doesn't tell you is that he did go to the healthcare exchange, enrolled in Federal Employee Health Benefits Plan, which is on the exchange. And as a result thereof, we, the taxpayers, subsidize his insurance 72 to 75%.
Wow.
He didn't take the federal subsidy from...
So did he actually tell a falsehood there or not?
Politicians never tell falsehoods, Glenn. They just kind of...
He said he didn't take the subsidy, but
he didn't take the Obamacare subsidy. He was taking the federal health care subsidy.
But we give a subsidy anyway. So to me, that's a lie by omission.
Well,
is that wrong or no?
Well, I guess you're never going to run for office, Glenn.
That's true. That is very true.
You'd have my vote. I wanted to ask a question. If wealthy parents, this is on education, if wealthy parents have the ability to opt out of the public school system because they have the wealth and they can send their child to any school they want to, why shouldn't poor children have that same opportunity, especially if they live in a neighborhood where the schools are probably failing? So that's my question for the senator. I know, and unfortunately he's gone, I know he's got his child in a private neighborhood school, as he says, in probably Virginia. But
Which means a private school, not
it's
a neighborhood
private school, and I don't understand why if he supports public education, the institution of public education, so much, why doesn't he support it by enrolling his child in a public school? I mean, that to me, that's hypocritical.
For thee, but not for me.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
Anyway, the lady from Iliamna was outstanding.
Yeah, she was. Lisa was great.
Okay, bye.
Appreciate the phone call. 569-1080, 569-1080. Want to remind you about the folks out at Chugach Chiropractic. They are all about helping you get a healthier lifestyle, living a healthier life, pain-free life. Dr. Schweigert out at Chugach Chiropractic, he's the very best. And you'll be glad you make an appointment if you do. Here's the number, 694-9224. 694-9224. Our number, 569-1080. Let's go to Gary. Gary, you're on. You there, Gary?
I just have a comment. I'm a lifelong Alaskan commercial fisherman, sport fishing guide, and all that from out in Bristol Bay and Iliamna. And I sit here and watch all these political ads on TV, and none of the truth ever comes out that over 80% of the fishing permits are owned by outside people.
Yes.
And and all these jobs that they talk about are filled with outside people and people from foreign countries.
Yes.
And I never hear the truth about that.
Yes, you're right.
And then we have big money people backing up, protecting their sport fishing lodges and everything else, and they don't care about the people that live in the villages that are starving, have no employment, and have no hope.
Very true, Gary. Can't argue with any of that.
Yeah, and so thank you for letting me share that.
Absolutely. Thank you for your call. 569-1080, 569-1080. Jim, you're on.
You bet. Thanks for having him on. But how long was he on for?
3 segments.
So that's 45 minutes?
Well, we get commercials in there.
Right, and I'm just going to scold you because you went after him so long on the abortion thing. I think you took about 3 calls to him, and that's all. And you can see there was a lot more people wanting to ask a question. My question was going to be, will he vote in support of amnesty for illegal immigration? And I don't know the answer to that from him or from would-be Senator Dan Sullivan. Even though you had Dan Sullivan on,
Sullivan said he would not vote for amnesty.
Yeah, he has stated that in some debates.
He actually said that?
Yes, he said he will not vote for amnesty.
Well, thank you guys for clearing that up.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, I tell you the part that's murky about it, and it's more important than any, quote, vote for amnesty. Something positive is going to have to be done. In other words, an action is going to have to be taken to stop the president.
Right.
Because the president is going to do what he wants, and Mark Begich has never checked this president's power in his entire existence down
that's
there.
the question. Yeah. If Obama tries to bring about amnesty,
will you move to impeach?
Yeah.
Or you will you accept an
do
impeachment vote from the House?
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah.
That's a good question, too.
There needs to be action.
A lot of fun. Now, it's so hard to debate Begich because he is so slippery. Like, for instance, he goes off, I nailed him, there's just no way around it, or he nailed himself about what the deficit was under Bush. To include $829 billion of your ridiculous, and it was such a failed project, stimulus, to count that under the Bush administration's final budget. Total lie. Absolutely untrue. The other thing, though, that he did try to go into was this not allowing floor votes, and this is just well known. Harry Reid has been the most dictatorial person over the Senate that we've ever seen. We've never seen anything like it. They haven't produced a budget 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is. Isn't that right? And they don't allow floor votes. Occasionally they do, and of course that's what Begich is going to, he speaks up and says, well, we let it in on this one bill. You know, they let a certain number of limited amendments to come in on one bill. The fact is, this has been the most closed Senate we've ever seen.
You know, a lot of leftists, Glenn, I'm apprehensive to say that they lie because they get these talking points and they rehearse them and they believe they're true. And it's just kind of they're repeating. You know, I'm sure that Mark Begich didn't go back and look at George Bush's last budget in detail. He was probably just told that in the talking points he was given, and he just repeats it. He's repeated it 100 times.
It doesn't matter if it's based on truth.
I'm sure now that he's heard your version of it, he'll probably look at it and go, "Oh, whoa, wow! If you include that stimulus, that wasn't George Bush's." I don't think we could say for sure that he lied about it.
So he'll back off on it. He'd be the first liberal I ever did. Every liberal I've ever debated in the entire time I've been on Facebook and all these stories always comes up with the same thing. We cut in half George Bush's first deficit, which is totally garbage.
We'll be back tomorrow morning. Have a great day, folks. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Have a great day, folks.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning